This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up, everyone? It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It is a great day to kick off the CFL season. CFL is back tonight. We got Montreal Hamilton and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. First game on Friday Night Football tomorrow night as they take on the Calgary Stampeders. We're going to head out to Montreal and talk to our pal Moe Khan. We'll certainly talk a little football. We will also discuss the end of the Montreal Canadiens season, as well as what Patrick Laine had to say at the end of the year and what might be next for him. But Mo's one of our favorites because we can hit it all with Mo. We'll also talk a little World Cup and Team Canada ahead of their opener in Toronto next Friday against Bosnia and Herzegovina. We've got some Jays talk coming up as well. And maybe we'll see how Leaf fans are feeling right now as Mitch Marner is 3 wins away from a cup and a potential Conn Smythe trophy. Jays fans haven't been happy, though. Ever since Jeff Hoffman threw up all over himself on Saturday, they haven't won a game 4 in a row. They got the toughest team in the league to play right now, the Atlanta Braves, tonight. We're going to have Rob Wong from Postmedia and the 3 Up, 3 Down podcast join us a little bit later on. And, of course, we'll talk some hockey with our buddy Ken Wiebe of the Winnipeg Free Press as well. And Jake is back. I guess he was popped back last week while I was gone, but looking forward to having Jake on the program as well. Maybe put together a little something for the weekend in the Canadian Football League that we can get boosted up at Coolbet and have some fun on that. Hey, once again, thanks to Rick Delaine and everyone that was out at Scotswood Link supporting the Delaine Memorial Tournament yesterday. We had a great time, a great hospitality from the folks out there in Elm Creek. What you didn't see on the show was an absolutely apocalyptic storm that rolled in about 10 or 15 minutes after we finished the show. Let's just say that if that happened during the show would have been immediately cut short because I have not seen rain like that probably in a couple years. And we had to deal with it going back to the city and then out to Assiniboia Downs. Huge thanks to Sherry and Darren and the amazing hospitality of the Assiniboia Downs team. We had a great time with our winners, Chelsea, Cowboy, and Dallas and their guests last night. Myself, Connor, Remis, and Liz were out there. And, man, we had an absolute blast. Hit a few winners, and we were all winners at that prime rib buffet. So we'll have to do that again at some point. Great time. They are off until next week at Assiniboia Downs, Tuesday and Wednesdays. But it was fun. As I tweeted out yesterday, there was many highlights, including Michael Remis riding a mechanical bull for their Western Wednesdays. So we'll get Remo and Connor in here in just a second. But anyways, we got a packed show. Great to see you all, have you all with us. Hit that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already. Just before we bring in the boys, big thanks to all the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet. You have about 4 hours, 5 hours to get your picks in and make sure you're counted in our free contest to win a trip to the Grey Cup, picking the CFL games this year. Go to coolbet.com. If you're on a desktop, just go to the bottom of the main page. You'll see sports. Under sports is Coolbet Leagues. Click on that. It'll take you there. Put your picks in, and then just put yourself a reminder to get them in every week. If you're doing it on a phone, a couple people have asked me this. if you go down to the bottom of the screen on your mobile app and click on more, you'll see the promotions, and then you'll also see sports. You just want to slide to the right, and the far right is Coolbet League. That's where you find it. Again, it's totally free. You just have to have a Coolbet account. You can sign up for one if you need, and get your picks in. Play against us all season long, and maybe you'll be winning a trip to the Grey Cup. Also want to thank Princess Auto and Chud's Power Sports, Clean Line, the Tri-Hospital Lottery, Manitoba Battery, Breezy Bend, popped by Breezy yesterday. They were getting that weather too. Aikens Lake, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug, Travel Manitoba, Terry and the gang at St. Vital Dental Center, Rowley's Transfer, Assiniboia Downs, and the Winnipeg Goldeyes, who are back in action tonight at Blue Cross Park. And of course, we'll get to a Why Not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. All right, let's get this going. Michael Remis, Connor Rabchak, what's going on? What a day yesterday out in Elm Creek, dealing with the weather, and then an amazing finale to it with our winners out of the ASD, Remo.
Yeah, I still haven't eaten today since the buffet yesterday.
Not anything.
I'm going to be good for a while. Ribs, prime rib were highlights for me. I did have a lot of salad, the grilled vegetables, piece of salami there. The dessert table, absolutely incredible.
Did you hit the bourbon bacon brownie?
I had that. I had chocolate cake. I had chocolate chip cookies. I had ice cream. I had a lot more dessert than I thought I would. Coming in the fruit platter, excellent. It was very good at the Downs. I see Cowboy in chat. Had a great night. He finished up money with the race 5 trifecta. I hit the exacta on race 3. I think, which was nice for me. So I finished up as well. So it was, yes, fantastic. What a day for a Winnipeg Sports Talk. Beautiful weather at the golf course in Elm Creek.
Until the show was over.
Until we packed up, and then it started pouring. And I was worried about Connor behind me on the way home because you couldn't really see on the road.
Connor, what's up? How was your day yesterday? Starting off with the show on the road, and then, of course, doing what we did out at the Downs last night.
Yeah, the show out at Scotswood Links was awesome. Hitting the free hot dog cart was a highlight for sure, and the weather was great until it wasn't. As you said, I was doing a hit on EST right after our show had wrapped. And actually, you could, as my hit was going on, like you could hear the thunder kind of rolling in, and I was like, "All right, guys, I think we got a wrap here," and we did, and then we ended up heading home. But I had never been to Assiniboia Downs before last night, and it was such a cool experience. I hear you guys talk about it every day on the show, making your horse picks and all that stuff. So the first couple races, just watched. Didn't really bet anything, and then bet on our race. Got a winner. Didn't really pay that much. I bet on a heavy favorite, and they won. So, just saw one go through the hoop, essentially, is what I did on that one. But the prime rib buffet, I mean, you guys have been talking about it on this show forever.
So good.
Oh, man, that was incredible. It was incredible. It was all, like, the variety, whatever you wanted, whatever you were in the mood for, they had it. And then the dessert table after, you mentioned that bacon bourbon brownie. I was like, well, bacon and bourbon, like, yeah, on a brownie, I don't know. Got to try it. It was good. So, yeah, that was such an awesome experience. Shout out to everyone at ASD. Saw Darren Dunn after as well. So super, super cool experience from someone who was a rookie and went there for the first time last night.
Now, Remis, I mean, we pretty much have to show this. It was Western Wednesdays last night. Now, I think often after like the second and the fourth race, everyone gets in and they do a bunch of line dancing. There were some girls that were into that. I didn't really catch that. But for the Western Wednesdays, they do have a mechanical bull set up. And much to my delight, my partner, the CTO of Winnipeg Sports Talk, decided that he would take on the mechanical bull. And, listen, it's not easy. And to Remis's credit, it was a brief one and got right back on to let it. Do we have the video? I didn't tweet it out. I wanted to debut it on the show for everyone that wanted to see the mechanical bull and your attempt.
Yeah, let me just bring it up. And yeah, you don't tweet it. We got to save this kind of goodness for the show. We don't get paid by Twitter. We get paid by people watching watching here on YouTube and listening to the podcast. I'm just getting it ready, so give me 1 second here.
Yeah. So podcast listeners, sorry, I had a piece of ice in my mouth. Podcast listeners, this is another reason why you got to tune into the YouTube program. So right around 10 minutes in or whatever for today, you can come back after listening to it. Just pop over. Well, when you go to YouTube, make sure to just hit that subscribe button and give us a like to the episode. But you will see you'll be able to see what we're about to show, which is Remis handling
people
the
in chat are
mechanical
asking.
bull.
People in chat are asking if it was before or after the buffet. This was after.
Yeah, it was
possibly
after
enough.
the buffet.
Yeah, so risky move, like for sure.
I didn't have a lot of. I never done a mechanical bull, and it was Cowboy's wife who was with. She gave me some good tips that I had to squeeze my legs, and I didn't really understand what she meant until I got on there a second time. I would have liked more times, but you know what? There's a line, and I'm pretty respectful of everyone. But here's the video. Like,
Here it is.
Go.
Great
Yeah.
camera work by yours truly.
You did do a good job on it.
Here we go. And trying to make it happen. And
Oh.
no. All right. Too short. Okay. We got to get, he's just getting the hang of it. Now he's back on. Here's the full ride. Good form with the hand in the air.
There you go.
And that's it. That's it. But it was a it was a great attempt, and obviously a great night. So I guess they're doing that on Wednesday nights, Western Wednesdays. And I will say, what was the date that we said we had to come back for? June or July 13th, I believe.
Yeah, Wiener Dog race night.
Yes, Wiener Dog races on the Monday, and they have all those amazing deals like $2 or $1 like pops, popcorn, lemonade, hot dogs, all that stuff. So you can go to AS Downs and check all that out. Hey, the one thing that we missed, we were sort of following it while we were out there doing the races. Connor, how about the Knicks going into San Antonio and coming away with a big win in game number 1? I'll admit I was stunned. I kind of thought that this series might be a real short one just with the way San Antonio had been playing and what Victor Wembanyama. For New York to go in and win on the road in game 1, huge statement game. And we're spent all our time talking about Wemby. Maybe don't forget about Jalen Brunson, who was the hero in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, no kidding. I said it on yesterday's show. I mean, I expected this to be a 5 or 6 game series in San Antonio's favor. And turns out the New York Knicks, they're not just, a hot team. They're announcing that they're here and they're going to be competitive in this series. And the old adage is what? A series doesn't start until a home team loses. Well, series on, but I think in more ways than one here where people maybe felt, and I was in that camp for sure, that this would be an easy San Antonio series, maybe not a sweep, but 5 or 6 games, and it still certainly could go that way. But impressive performance from New York, game 1 of the finals, going into San Antonio and winning. That is awesome. And look, it's going to make for an awesome series. I would like for it to be competitive, and it looks every way that it's going to be that way. And yeah, Jalen Brunson, I know there was an injury scare in that game too. He left early in the game. Saw him limping down the tunnel, but he came back and led the New York Knicks to a game 1 win. And what was a really fun game. I watched the highlights when I got home after ASD, and wow, that the atmosphere there. Knicks fans travel well as well, so they were in that road barn going crazy when they were getting buckets down the stretch and stuff. So fun game 1 of the NBA Finals for sure.
Hey, one other thing that I do want to just back to, listen, we're going to see what happens. This series is on, and I have a feeling now that the Knicks have won that we're going to be getting 6, maybe 7. We'll find out tonight whether we'll have a big-time series in the Stanley Cup Final, because I think if Vegas wins this game tonight, we could be looking at something similar to the Colorado series. But I do expect a big pushback from the Hurricanes. One other thing, though, from ASD, Reem, we got to have our own race last night. And as you can see, it got a little mucky. But here's the video. Our winners, there's the squad, myself, I'm holding a plaque. There's Remo, there's Liz, Connor, and the gang, and there is What
Chief
was the,
Brady.
Chief
big
Brady.
Big favorite.
Yeah, a massive favorite that just cruised to victory in the race last night. We had Darren Dunn popped out to say hi. There's Darren on the corner. So the conditions were sloppy, I believe, as they say in the horse racing game. But it was an awesome night inside. And Reem, I did, by the way, pull off for our head-to-head the triactor in race 7 last night after we left. So it was definitely a good night. But Reem, I'll start off with you. Thoughts on this game tonight? Carolina, I mean, we spent all the day yesterday talking about Ehlers. I get it. But the actual series, this was, a devastating way to lose the first game and blow home ice the way Carolina did last night. And this is a team with a lot of scar tissue from series past. Vegas has got to have a ton of confidence with the way they played last night. What are you expecting tonight when we drop the puck and rally with the Canes, in my opinion, in a must-win situation if they're going to be Stanley Cup champs?
Yeah, 7 o'clock tonight, game 2. Are we going to see more of a back-and-forth game with the lead changes? As far as game 1s go, very exciting. 9 total goals. If it's going to be anything like Carolina's last series, which probably won't be, but, maybe they learned a couple things from game 1, and they're going to be able to limit Vegas's chances more. And, they're going to need better goaltending from Freddie Anderson. Although, tough to fault him there on the winner. And, Vegas is getting the puck, making nice plays and getting the puck off their stick very quickly. And it's tough to make those adjustments. If Carolina wants any shot of winning this series, they need to get something from their top line. Aho, Jarvis, Svechnikov did not get it done in game 1. And we'll see how that goes for them here tonight. I feel like it's going to be more dialed back. I don't think we're going to see nine goals, maybe more tight checking, but very exciting. Carolina scoring 30 seconds in, getting out to a 2-goal lead, blowing the 2-goal lead, tying it. That was awesome. So I do hope it is very similar, but maybe Carolina learned something and, Vegas learned as well, and they'll dial it back.
I hope, and I was just talking with Iwanek when we were kind of making some picks on this game tonight in the lock shop. I have a feeling that this will be a far more defensive game. I think the goalies, both had a little bit of stage fright early on, but played better later on in the game. Connor, where are you at on this one? Carolina's got to have it. Can and will they get it?
Yeah, my focus is going to be on that top line for the Carolina Hurricanes, or at least their top line when you flip open their lines at Daily Faceoff and look at what their line combinations are. Maybe not by time on ice, given how poor they've played so far in the past couple of series. And Carolina's kind of won in spite of Aho and Jarvis and Svechnikov on the top line. It's been the Blake, Hall, Stankoven second line that's been great. The Ehlers line outscored the Eichel line, and Ehlers obviously scored twice in game 1. So that line was on the board. Even their fourth line chipped in late in the series against Montreal. But Jarvis, Murat Atesh was talking about it yesterday. Not really looking like himself. You could tell me Seth Jarvis is playing through just about any injury right now, and I think I'd believe you. He just doesn't look like the same guy that he did earlier in the season. Can he find his game? Can Sebastian Aho get going a little bit? My focus is fully going to be on Carolina's top line, because you even saw some of the commentary out of Carolina and their reporters and fans coming out of that game saying they have no chance in this series if that line doesn't get it going. So I'm going to see if that line can maybe contribute a little bit more offense, get on the board. And yeah, I'm with both of you. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game altogether, tighter checking. Both of these coaches are going to want to dial it back a little bit. And hey, the last time Carolina lost in the playoffs, they responded and won 4 straight against Montreal. So how is Carolina going to respond in this game as well? Losing to Vegas, they got smoked in game 1 against Montreal in the Eastern Conference Finals. Can they respond with another impressive performance tonight in game 2?
Yeah, well, if you recall, in game was it game 2 or was it game 3? It was Nikolai Ehlers that was the hero.
Game 2.
He tied the game and then won it in OT. And to me, that Ehlers almost single-handedly flipped the script on that series. Now, once they got that win, we saw them really exert themselves. And who's to say that wouldn't have happened if they had gone down 2-0? They were far and away the better team the rest of the series. but there was an opportunity for the Habs to go up 2-0 on the road before 27 got in there and did his thing. So 7 o'clock tonight, Cup Final continues with game number 2. But, man, this is... We're the last week, or well, let's call it the last couple weeks, ever since the second round of the playoffs have been done, we've been back in this situation where we've only got one game a night. Some people that are into the NBA, you've got the NBA. We've been watching the ups and downs of the Blue Jays. We will talk about that with Rob Wong a little bit later on. But Reem, we're back into 2 TV territory because not only do we have the Cup Final tonight, the first game of the Canadian Football League season goes Montreal and Hamilton. And listen, we've had all the talk about the offseason changes to the league. We had our fantasy draft, which didn't work. We figured it out. The offseason is over, and it is go time. How ready are you to get the 3-down game going tonight in the Hammer?
Yes, I'm very fired up, and I like how they've staggered the schedule. I don't like how there's only 3 games this week, but the CFL schedule's in for a bit strange this year because of the World Cup taking place at 2 CFL stadiums. We got 3 games tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday. Tonight at 6:30 officially kicks off with Montreal trying to get back to the Grey Cup. Davis Alexander, how healthy is he going to be? Battled injuries last year, and if he's healthy, I think Montreal a big favorite there in the East. And Hamilton, we were talking here for so long about the Bombers' Grey Cup drought, but how about Hamilton? It's just getting longer and longer. Bo Levi, thought he was done a couple of years ago, but he looked pretty good last season, and he's thrown to the former Bomber, Kenny Lawler. So this is a pretty good matchup of the 2 top teams in the East. A nice way to kick off the season here. So, yes, I will be doing multiple TVs. The big TV on the Cup Final, and then I will have a tablet with the CFL.
I'm pretty sure I will say I'm going to watch the hockey game, and I will end up paying more attention to the football game. I don't know why. I'm just ready to go. I find myself, if multiple sports are on, I don't know what it is. Maybe because I worked in hockey for so long and it kind of felt like work at a certain point. But, man, just from a perspective, I love to bet on games. I mean, all that. It is so good to have football back. Connor, I'm sure you're going to be doing a little double duty like everyone else is tonight as well.
Yeah, for sure thing. I mean, you guys hit the nail on the head there. It's been 1 TV territory for a little bit, but we're back to 2 TV territory tonight. And I mean, for a week 1 slate that doesn't involve Saskatchewan and BC, pretty intriguing. Like you get an East Final rematch tonight with Hamilton and Montreal. You get Winnipeg, Calgary, both teams that weren't in the West Final last year and are looking to take that step on Friday Night Football. That'll be a great game. And then Red Blacks, Elks, the Elks, past couple of years, they've sank their season in the first couple of weeks, just like that. And then they go on a bit of a run at the end and people get hope in the offseason, but they need to get off to a good start in their seasons. And then the Jake Mayer thing on the Ottawa side, I still can't believe that he's starting, but I'm excited for this week 1 CFL slate, despite the fact we only have 3 games. So looking forward to tuning into tonight's game tonight. Hopefully my CFL fantasy stops bugging out, Huss, and I can actually start my 2nd round pick in Davis Alexander. That would be nice. But right now, it's not letting me put him into my starting lineup right now. It says I need to pick a starter and a bench player, and it's giving me an error message, even though I'm trying to put Alexander, who's on my bench, into the starting lineup. So hopefully that gets sorted out before
we can wait till week 2 or 3 to give Davis Alexander a little load management early on in the year. We're going to talk Davis Alexander with Moe Khan coming up in just a minute. Depth chart is out, though, for the Bombers season opener. This from DT on OB, Derek Taylor, who will have the game with Doug Brown tomorrow on 680 CJOB. Rookie Major Williams starting at corner after being limited in practice the last couple days. Tyler Ellsbury is starting at center, and the Bombers are going 3 Americans on the offensive line with Ellsbury, newcomer Broxton, and the Bryant at the tackles, and then Gabe Wallace and Patty Neufeld in the middle. And the top 2 draft picks making their CFL debuts, Gatkoff and Daniels. Daniels, the tight end. Haven't seen a tight end listed on a depth chart in a while in the Canadian Football League, but We'll be looking forward to seeing what he can do. We'll talk a little bit more on the Bombers and to get some thoughts a little later on. Fellas, good stuff. Moe Khan is, though, about to join us. So just before we bring in Mo, we'll remind all of you folks to please, if you haven't already, get on over to tryhospitaldream.com and get your tickets for the Tri Hospital Lottery in support of the Health Sciences Center, the St. Boniface Hospital, and the HSC Children's Hospital. You have until next Friday at midnight to get your tickets and be eligible for all of the early bird prizes, including the big early bird winner that's going to have the choice of a 2026 Land Rover Range Rover SE plus $50,000 cash, or a 26 Mercedes-Benz G80 SUV valued at over $245K, or $210,000 cash tax-free. 25 winners as well of $500 will be given away. And listen, on top of it all, the big prize, the grand prizes are unprecedented. 5 dream home packages worth $1.7 million apiece, or a cash prize of $1.35 million. It is all in support of the incredible work at our 3 major hospitals, the Children's Hospital, St. B, and the HSC. Please get your tickets today and support a great cause, and maybe you'll be the next millionaire in the province. Tryhospitaldream.com, and you can also pick them up at Red River Co-op locations or London Drugs. Got to shout out our friends at Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. Don't forget, for all of your plumbing needs, as well as heating and electrical for residential and commercial, they are the go-to guys. You see the vans all around the city. Winnipeg's most trusted plumbers with over 40 years of fast responses, lasting results, and 24/7 emergency services across all of Winnipeg. Mark down the number 204-500-2001. That's the number for 24/7 emergency services at Clean Line. You can also make an appointment and schedule something at cleanline.ca. We got a real nice weekend coming up. I know the cottage openings was a little later than normal due to the weather. Well, it's all systems go for summer right now, which means you got to get those batteries for your boat, your RV, the dirt bike you're going to be riding, your ATV, and Manitoba Battery has them all. Your local option for batteries for literally everything, where you will get the best price in town guaranteed, beating the pants off the big box stores. We hear it all the time from WST listeners. And even better, the best in customer service. They'll even deliver those batteries to you anywhere inside the perimeter if you can't make it down to one of their 2 locations. But the original on Logan Avenue, the new spot on the south end on Dovercourt Drive, they'd love to see you there with the best in customer service, the best in prices for batteries to power your summer at your local battery option, Manitoba Battery. Order online at manitobabattery.com. And just before we bring in Mo, don't forget, if you are on the move this summer, folks, lean on our friends at Rowley's Transfer. Over 60 years in the biz and the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. Check them out online at Rowley's Transfer, at Rowleys.com. In the top right corner, you'll see request an estimate. Hit on that and put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies for Winnipeg Sports Talk listeners, and then simply let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to go, and the friendly staff at Rowley's will turn it around and give you a quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they've been famous for, now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rowley's, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more today or request that estimate at Rowleys.com. All right. CFL season is on. The Alouettes kicking off against the Ticats tonight. I thought it would just be a perfect day, a week out of the World Cup, to bring in one of the true Renaissance men of the sports world, a great friend of the program, and a guy I can talk about literally anything to, the one and only Moe Khan. Mo, what's up, man? It's great to talk to you.
I thought it would be Vegas had game 2 tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's the with.
That was, listen, I mean, we've talked a lot about Nikolai Ehlers, and certainly Ehlers had quite the start to the Cup final. But, we were just talking at the opening of the show. I mean, Ehlers, in a lot of ways, sort of killed the Canadians. I mean, that game 2 performance where he scored that beautiful goal and then won in OT. I'm sure there are a lot of Habs fans wondering, like, how might things have been different if they were able to get that second win on the road and come back home up 2-0?
Would have, could have, should have, right? The Habs were outclassed in this series. I mean, Carolina was the better team coming in. They were the better team leaving that series. And you saw the disparity of talent. And look, no excuses, right? The Habs went through a meat grinder of 2 7-game series with Tampa and Buffalo. And reality was, coming into the series, that they had one extra round of games on their body compared to Carolina going into round 3. And it showed, right? They just lacked the energy, the panache, the cutting edge required to score goals and then defend well. And Carolina literally was a Category 6 hurricane on them from games 2 to the end. And, there is a lot of questions about this team going into the offseason in terms of what the next step is. Right? You took this step, right? You went from 3 years ago being a cellar dweller, rebuild, to now being 3 wins away from the Cup. What do you do better in the offseason? And I think, Andrew, for this team moving forward here, a 2C is required, a rugged, edgier right-handed shot on the defense, and more edge in the forward lines. Because after the first line, they lacked the quality, and it showed at this point in the season. So a lot of question marks for Ken Hughes, and also he has to re-up Martin St. Louis. So it will be a busy offseason for the Habs, but an intriguing one going towards June and July.
Oh, funny you mentioned 2C. There's another team that's looking for a 2C and has been for 5 or 6 years, maybe even longer. Those are easier said than done. But listen, the Habs are in a great position. Such a young team. And I mean, listen, there's a lot of excitement coming through. Also a lot of pressure, though, on some top players. I mean, Cole Caulfield in particular has that magical 50-goal season. It was a little quieter in the playoffs. And, it's funny. I'll make a comparison to Nikolai Ehlers.
Right.
In that, a smaller player, brilliant scorer and does a lot of great things. Ehlers probably unfairly wore the lack of production that he had in the 2017-18 run to the conference finals for the Winnipeg Jets. And,
right.
People still bring that up, kind of ignoring what he'd done in other playoff runs after that. But it's quite clear that if Cole Caulfield's going to be making the big money, if he's going to be the go-to guy scoring for the Habs, next year, assuming this team is in the playoffs, there will be an immense amount of pressure on Cole Caulfield to produce a lot more than he was able to during this playoff run.
Yeah, and it showed, right? And Caulfield is a talented goal scorer. That's what he is. He's not a two-way player. He's not gonna go out there and kill penalties unless he learns to that trait in the offseason. But you saw what teams did to him. For the most part, he was neutralized. It didn't do much, was a peripheral player, literally speaking, in terms of his ice positioning and whatnot. And now, going into this next season, the expectation level will be even higher for him. And look, we had a question amongst our buddies of mine in Montreal. What's more likely to happen? Caulfield scoring 50 or Suzuki hitting 100 points again? And they all said Suzuki going 100. So really, for Caulfield, he got on the heater, and he showed why he's a great finisher. But that next step will be required of him. Slafkovsky. We know Suzuki's probably one of the best two-way, if not top 5 two-way players in the NHL. But you said it before, the 2C right there. That is going to be the biggest question mark for this team is what does Kent Hughes do? He's got, I think, less than 3 weeks before the draft begins. Will he be Trader Kent on draft day? Or will he wait till July 1? And there isn't a market out there in free agency this year. So really, the Habs had that good thing going for them. But look, they're a young team. You said it before, Andrew. But that division is a group of death. Florida will rebound back. You had 5 teams in the playoffs from that division alone. You expect someone from those 5 won't make it next year. Florida does jump into that equation. So really, it's going to be a bloodbath next year with those teams plus others in the Eastern Conference.
Mo, I wanted to ask you about Patrick Laine. He's still got a lot of fans here, and we have kicked it around, assuming he's going to free agency as he looks to kind of resuscitate his career. Maybe the place where he had his greatest success in the NHL might be somewhere he could certainly use to boost on the power play and whatnot. He had some interesting comments on Locker Cleanout Day. Maybe if you could reset those for people and just give us your thoughts on what happened with Laine this season with the Canadiens.
It's the greatest question that no one knows the answer to, right? I mean, I think the reality was Laine, go back to year 1, right? What he did in the power play, transformed the team's confidence. And it may not be the front headliner, but he had an influence on why this team made the playoffs because he had clutch goals, right? He got hurt and he's been banged up. And that's been the unfortunate situation for Lonnie, that he's been banged up. And to a lesser extent, because Caulfield is a great talent, but to a lesser extent for Lonnie's production value, he's a one-trick pony. And that's what he was for the Canadians. And they value that. Look, he isn't the guy that fits our profile moving forward here. And you heard in his quotes earlier this week about, look, I was healthy, ready to go and whatnot. But Martin St. Louis was not going to disturb the chemistry that he has developed and has helped evolve the last couple of years. And not to say it wasn't the right fit, but Ken Hughes took a gamble on this. It didn't work out. And not the end of the world for the Canadians because they have cap space to move at that time and work with. But for Patrik Laine and maybe the Winnipeg Jets, the heart yearns what it doesn't have anymore, Andrew. And maybe, just maybe, he might come back to your hometown and be a part of the Jets again. But he's got to find the right spot that's going to be perfect for his mindset, and that's going to help him continue to flourish as he once was a great goal scorer when he was in his younger age of 18, 19,
The
20.
weirdest thing about what Laine said is that, he said he was hurt, but he said he probably could have come back right after, into the new year.
Yeah.
And then said, it's smart for something like this to maybe be a little bit more cautious. But, it was very clear that at some point in the second half of the season, he could have been activated and he could have been an option. And it did not seem like the Canadians really wanted to entertain that. Do we have any idea why a guy they were paying so much money to, they were more than happy just having on the IR and being kind of forgotten?
Mm-hmm. I think, look, coming in, when he got acquired, right, the media, all of us said, okay, cool. If we can get 25 goals from him, 30 goals, it's a home run. Right. And he did provide spark, but I just think that for St. Louis, and remember, I'll give you this key stat here from this past season, right? The top 9 goal scorers for the Montreal Canadiens this year, or point scorers, I beg your pardon, right? They only missed a total of 7 games between the top 9 scorers in Montreal. That is huge, right? So there wasn't really, hey, player X, Y, and Z is out, he's going to come in. There wasn't that, right? And so I think now for what played out the last 4 or 5 months, this team has been playing its best hockey since last year's Four Nations. So really, there wasn't a maneuver or two that could have said, hey, Patrick, you're coming in. You're going to be in the second or third line of this team here. Because every line had a specific requirement from St. Louis, and they played it to the best of their abilities. And I don't think Lonnie fit what St. Louis wanted from him at this point of his career. And yeah, you're right. It's money chilling on a shelf, and it's eroding in value. But in hindsight now, when you look at it, when it's all said and done, even if he came back next year, it'd be hard to fathom where he would fit because, again, they had built up this camaraderie, this rapport, this cohesion that was lacking before. And now for this team moving forward here, Gallagher's going to be gone. Lonnie will be gone. You expect another 2 or 3 more guys might be gone. They'll bring up some guys from Laval who might be ready to come up now. But these next 2 summers, I believe, Andrew, will be seismic for the Canadians. And whether or not they'll be a perennial cup contender for the next 4, 5 to 6 years.
Hey, you mentioned Gallagher just before we move off the Habs. He said it was pretty clear that he probably is moving on. Is that it for him? Do you think he still has anything left in the tank? Is there a team that he could help? Or will he maybe go into the media or somewhere where he, I think, will be very good in a second career?
Well, he's been a pleasure to converse with, and he could go in the media. He would be great for a hockey panel, whoever would want him on board, right? That's post-career. But to use a football example, Brendan Gallagher was like that running back, that great 6, 7, 8, 9 year run of dominance, nails and going out there and just destroying players and taking hits and taking injuries and whatnot. But he got paid for what he did, not what he would have done this year, the next 4 or 5 years in the second contract. And I think he became broken down, and that's the reality of it, right? Brendan Gallagher knew that I'm not the same guy that I was 8 years ago, and I won't give the same effort of goals and guts and glory that he did. And people were saying, oh, he should have been playing in game 4 and 5 against Carolina. But the reality is St. Louis probably felt in his gut, do I want to waste our game day spot on a guy that might give me 6 minutes of play? And people were saying, well, he scored against Tampa. Well, yes, he did. But There's no guarantee he would have done the same against Carolina. And I think, in a way, people are going to be upset because of how much they love Brendan Gallagher in the city. But in a way, you're giving the young guys, the next generation of players on this roster, a taste of what it will take to be a cup contender. So I think for Gallagher, Vancouver could be the spot. I know he's expressed a desire to go back home to the West Coast. Maybe the Kraken might be in play too. Maybe the Flames too. Like somewhere that's around that area. He did play junior hockey in Alberta. So really, I think Kent Hughes knows he cannot have him linger, going into the training camp, which I don't think will be the case. I would expect him to be dealt by the draft day, if not by July 1 when free agency begins next month.
Moe Khan is with us in Montreal. Let's get to some football. The 3-down game is back tonight. Alouettes and Ticats, great matchup to start things off. Is this an unfinished business tour for the Alouettes? What's the outlook for the squad that'll be the visitors tonight in the Hammer?
I think. By the way, I have Al's Bombers Grey Cup. If you want my predictions.
Yes, now we're talking, Mo. Let's go.
Bombers. Today,
we'll see you in Calgary. We'll see you in Calgary in November.
Talk to me in mid-October when BC gets Ottawa. That's going to be right. Okay, so this Al's team did lose some age, right? With Dequoy retiring, Sankey let go, Wynn let go. They've gotten younger, but a lot of these young guys have played the last year and a half under Noel Thorpe. I think the defense will be good, not dominant like they were when they won the Grey Cup a few years ago. This offense, we know the question mark, right? Is can Davis Alexander play an 18-game schedule? There was that scare in preseason with that knee, and thank you for Alouette fans that it wasn't anything disastrous. But I'll be curious to see tonight against Hamilton what type of pass run ratio they will apply with Alexander. Because remember, he's a guy, he's like a Brendan Gallagher of quarterbacks, right? He's going to put his body on the line and do what's required, and it cost him severely last year with the hamstring injury. So is he going to be more cautious this year, right? Where they're going to try maybe have him do less wear and tear, more load management, as you used that term before in describing your fantasy football team. And I think for this Alouette team, they know that they are in the window to be in the Grey Cup. But this is a bigger game for Hamilton because think about it this way. Bo Levi Mitchell has never played well a lifetime against the Alouettes, whether it was in Calgary or in Hamilton. Remember 4 years ago, many thought it was the end of his career when Montreal smashed them in the semifinals and the playoffs. And even last year, right? Like he didn't have a great game in the East Final. So this is a huge referendum for the Ticats to kind of lay down the first marker in the division. And if they do beat the Alouettes and get that early, 1-0 record on Montreal, it might do wonders for them. But we know that for the Ticats, I think it's more pressure on Bo. Whereas for the Alouettes, they're playing for the long play, as every team is. That look, if we lose tonight, not the end of the world, but we know that we can definitely be in the Grey Cup when November hits in a few months from now.
Mo, you mentioned you like the Bombers.
I do.
Music to my ears, because it seems like a lot of people have already planned a parade route through downtown Vancouver. Thoughts on the West?
First of all, the BC Line away uniforms are hideous. I'm sorry, you know me, I'm a uniform nerd. The reason why I don't like the uniform is because of that white on orange outline numbers. No play-by-play guy or fan is going to be able to read those numbers. I'm sorry. Anyway, that's another story for another day. Look, I think BC's very good. I think Rourke's going to throw up numbers, but the DNA of the BC Lions is what come November. They can't play in cold weather. They fold up, right? And it's a shame because Keon Hatcher, McInnes, Rourke, Betts, these are all dudes. Like, these are great football players. Whereas for the Bombers, I think last year was a real, and you know very well, it was a real sour taste in their mouths, especially with the Riders winning in their backyard practically. I'm sure the champagne's still lingering in the Bomber locker room going to week one. But in hindsight, for this Bomber team, the biggest question will be Zach Collaros, right? Like, how do you approach him? And I think for him to be successful, that O-line has to keep him upright, Andrew. If they don't do that, you might be lucky to get him to play 10 games this year. So really, that O-line has to play well. And if they do play well, I think it does wonders for this Bombers team going towards this season. And I think this is probably the last of the roll of the dice of this band of teammates going together. Because I think next year will be a completely different team. But I think this team can go as far as they are healthy enough to do so.
Yeah, it does feel like one last ride for Zach and Willie Jefferson. And who knows? Maybe they'll be able to come back. Stanley Bryant's still playing. I mean, he's been, a pillar.
So I was going to say, they remind me of the Alouettes at the end of their dominance, early 2010, 2011, 2012, right? 2013 is when it went haywire when Cavill got hurt against Sask and never recovered. And they were in the wilderness for like 8-9 years, right? And got out of it at that point. But I just think that if Collaros has that Cavill ending, it could be bad news for the Bombers, but they keep him healthy. All bets are off. I think the Bombers can go all the way.
Mo, looking forward to it, and I know we'll be able to talk CFL all season long. How excited are you for the World Cup to kick off next week?
I am, but I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, man, like there's some teams like I'm just curious to see what the betting lines are going to be when like Curacao plays like a power, right? Like in 6.5 goals, like there might be some gambling lines out there that people are going to take the super over on this, right? And cover the spread here. But I am excited. I can't wait to see what Canada does. I know the question is, will Davies be available? He says no for game 1, but again, you have to set the tone in that first game against Bosnia. If you do not come away with maximum points, you put yourself now in that position of being either a 2 or maybe being the best third place team. So really, they have to come at minimum, Andrew, 5 points from the group. I think they can win the group, but it's going to be dependent on if they get the first 3 points on Bosnia. If they don't, it's going to be a real race for them to win that group coming out of that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if they can get a win next Friday, it would be a shocking disappointment if they didn't win their next game against Qatar. And Mo, I mean, if they were able to start off with 6 points in their first 2 matches, all of a sudden that sets up a pretty juicy opportunity for Canada playing against the Swiss, who I would assume will probably be in a similar situation, knowing that they're moving on to the next round. And, a draw might get them, a win of the group and another home game in the round of 32.
Yeah, I think, I think they get 6 points from the first 2 games. They're in the next round. That's no ifs or buts about that, right? I think the group will be 7 points or more to win. The Swiss, I think, are the favorites to win that group. And people underestimate the Swiss. The Swiss are very good. They have some talented players on that roster. You'll see come next week. But I just think you're right. Bosnia is a trickier game of the 3 because remember, this is now home soil. You're playing in front of your nation. You're playing one of the early games on the Friday afternoon, I think 3 p.m. kickoff. So nerves are going to be pretty evident, I think, in their first 20, 25 minutes. And I think it might take them time because Bosnia probably is going to park the bus and play for the counter on any mistake Canada will present itself next week. And if that happens, if Canada falls early 1-0, do they have the horsepower to break down the low block of teams that's going to throw at them and have like 10-man boxes that they have to break through? So really, it's going to come down to the midfield and trying to navigate through that type of parking the bus type of mentality from Bosnia if they fall down early 1-0, 2-0, whatever it is. But I think Canada should be Bosnia, and they should take out Qatar. And by the time they play the Swiss, I think they'll be playing for the group and maybe being the group winner going towards the knockout stage. Now,
as excited as I am to see Team Canada and what we can do and, hopefully make it to that playoff round and win a game or two, realistically, I don't think we can expect them to be in the semis or in the World Cup final.
You never know.
It's true.
2002, right? South Korea, right? In Japan, they made some deep runs as co-hosts, right? It could happen, right? And remember, and keep this in mind, Andrew, that we're in North America this year for the World Cup, right? It is going to be extreme temperatures. A lot of these European nations are not comfortable playing in extreme weather. Like a lot of these teams are training in Kansas City, Miami, the U.S. South to get used to it. And it won't be easy for these European teams coming up here. And usually European teams don't do well when they go west of Europe to play a World Cup or two along the way.
But coming into the tournament, who would be sort of the top 3 teams that, you would be pegging to potentially win the World Cup?
I think France and Spain are in their own category. If they're healthy, which they are for the most part, they are going to be key. I think Yamal, his health, because he got banged up with Barcelona towards the end of the year. How healthy is his hamstring coming in? But they have enough depth to work with, right, in Spain. So I think those are the top 2. The next category, I think Portugal, England, Argentina. I'm curious to see how the defending champions are going to be and how they set up. Can Messi play a full game, which I don't know if he can. He's been banged up too. Portugal, they're loaded. But what do they do with Ronaldo? Because look, He is Ronaldo, and do you want to offend him? Like, is he okay that he might play maybe 60 minutes of a game or maybe 42 minutes of a game coming off the bench? But I think that's going to be key, is that the European teams are loaded. And I would expect, and it will not surprise me that we'll see a few shocks along the way, because that's what happens when the World Cup is outside of Europe and goes to foreign countries or foreign territories like the North American region that we'll be in. And you know what? I think for Canada, they can be around 16. I think they can get to round 16, and beyond that, all bets are off. But that's going to be progress for them. But remember, this is the window now for Canada, this World Cup in 2030, to cash in now, because by the time we get to 2034, it'll be a brand new cast of characters that's going to be representing Canada if they do qualify in 8 years from now.
Hey, I just want to ask you about Brazil. It was interesting to note that Neymar is on the team, and he's getting the famous number 10 as well. Are the Brazilians going to be in sort of a Portugal Ronaldo situation where they're sort of bullied into playing him despite maybe having some better options?
No, because Ancelotti doesn't give a crap about media, right? You have to understand, Carlo Ancelotti is like the godfather of managers now. Like, he's won everywhere he's gone, right? So Brazil's the biggest one right now for him as a project, because they've not won the World Cup since 2002. And this Brazilian nation is hungry. They've been slapped around. Remember, Germany smashed them in the semifinals in 2014. They underachieved in 18 and 22, and they've not played well. And it's been a mismatch of players. Neymar had the pressure when he first came on the scene. He'll get a run, but remember, he's not healthy coming in. So guys like Vinicius Jr. will be key for this team and what they do. Allison, the goalkeeper, will be key. Their back line will be huge. Gabriel and these guys are going to be huge for them. And even the midfield, right? They got some maestros in the midfield that can change it. But again, this Brazil team has been so undervalued in terms of their performance. Ancelotti, again, can maybe get the best out of them. If he does do so, they could be a dark horse. I'm not too sure what the betting line is right now for Brazil to go and win the World Cup, but if it's at a nice number here, I would get that and have nothing to lose with them.
Mo, this is going to be a real fun little stretch for sports fans. As I said, I mean, I really enjoyed Game 1 of the Cup Final.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely ready to move on to the offseason and get to the draft. But, I mean, with the CFL's back, we got the World Cup starting. I think this is going to be one of the most fun, kind of 6-week periods of the entire sporting calendar. Before we go, and I said, you are the Renaissance man. Thoughts on the Knicks going into San Antonio and getting Game 1 last night?
Not surprised. Look, when Wembanyama goes 6 of 21 and 4 of 12 from beyond the arc, you're in trouble if you're San Antonio, right? They had to kind of figure out how to use him properly, that he can be much more effective than what he was yesterday, right? And you look at the fact that Brunson was being Brunson in the fourth quarter, and they got value from the depth of what they had. I think for San Antonio, the question is, your minutes that you allotted, like Harrison Barnes played more minutes than Dylan Harper did in the fourth quarter. Like, Harper played, I think, like 4 minutes in the fourth quarter. That cannot happen if you're San Antonio. And Harper was your best player yesterday. So really, you have to rely on Castle, Harper. De'Aaron Fox especially has to be better than what he was in Game 1. But if they don't do any adjustments, this could be a 5-6 game win for the Knicks. But remember, Andrew, if you look at the ticket prices in MSG, that's a lot of money being spent by the New Yorkers on maybe their first title in 50 years?
Call your boy Chanelay and see if Kendall or Kylie can't make the game, whichever the Jenner girls that he's with, and maybe he has an extra seat for you.
Well, I could try. But
2 fashion plates on either side of the border. Come on.
I could try. I was in New York not too long ago. But we'll see. I saw the Spurs winning in 6, but now it changes because of what the Knicks did yesterday. But I think San Antonio will go back to, I think it'll be 1-1 going back to MSG. I think San Antonio does win on Friday night, though.
Yeah, we'll see what the Knicks can do on home court. It should be a good one. Mo, listen, enjoy this Als Ticats game tonight. We'll catch up definitely during the World Cup if you got time. Thanks for doing this, buddy.
Always, my friend. Take care, pal.
Right on. There's Moe Khan. They're in Montreal, one of our great friends of the program, and definitely a WST Hall of Famer. Look, Murray Sisler, Mo is a great guest. Yes, he is. That was a great comment. I don't like this one from you, Murray. I certainly hope Canada does well, but not only have they never won a World Cup game, they have only scored 1 goal. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't get out of the group. Listen, they've got Qatar in the group. We'll be favored on home soil against Bosnia. Positive vibes only. Get those red shirts ready for next Friday for the game against Bosnia. Hey, a big congratulations to our friends at Princess Auto. Everyone, again, it really is the story in the city right now, this new flagship store that just opened. I have had so many people, both WSTers in the chat, people texting me, saying that they just cannot believe what Princess Auto's put together out of 500 Panet Road. If you have some time on the weekend, get down there. Bring the family. It's like free ice cream for kids. You can grab a beer and walk around and try stuff out. Do your shopping. And they've added hunting gear, fishing gear, camping gear, and so much more. And you can also apparently try a crossbow at the new Princess Auto as well. So 500 Panet Road. Get down there and check it out. You can find out more online at princessauto.com. And we're 1 week away from being at Princess Auto Stadium for the Blue Bomber home opener next week. Cannot wait for that. As I mentioned earlier, talking Manitoba Battery, you got to get those boats ready to go and RVs and ATVs. Well, you're going to get those at Chud's Power Sports. Chud's Power Sports up in Gimli at the corner of Highway 8 and 231 is Manitoba's Power Sports Superstore for over 80 years with the best selection of new vehicles, of motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-sides, golf carts, not to mention boats and outboard motors, recreational vehicles, Argos. It really needs to be seen to be believed what they've got. Now, I mean, an amazing selection of used inventory as well. Things like golf carts and motorcycles and side-by-sides and boats with great financing packages as well. And the most experienced and trusted staff and customer service team in the industry, as I mentioned, with great financing options. You can find out on everything Chuds has ready for the summer right now online at chudspowersports.com. But take a trip up the highway, go see our pal the Derminator and the great people at Chuds and get the most out of your Manitoba summer. Actually, we will have our preseason, before kickoff, power poll for the CFL. We'll have that a little bit later on today's show after Kenny and Rob Wong join us. Hey, I do want to thank our friends at St. Mattel Dental Center for their support, not only of Winnipeg Sports Talk, but of course of golf in Manitoba. Just finished up the Manitoba Match Play Championships presented by St. Mattel Dental Center. But listen, they've been taking care of generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans. Now have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's Road with convenient free parking right behind the building. And St. Mattel Dental Center will handle clients from 6 months to 99 plus with a full array of dental services, from cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. They do it all. So for all your dental needs for you and your family, make it St. Mattel Dental Center. Go to stmatteldental.ca to make an appointment and make sure to tell Dr. Terry and the gang that you're a WST listener. They will take great, great care of you. And hey, a little bit later on today on the program, we will be giving out another Boston Pizza MVP platter. Shout out to T. Will, who won it yesterday. We're counting down to the World Cup in just a matter of days. A week from today is the opener. And then, of course, Canada's opener next Friday. Every Boston Pizza will be rocking for the Canada games. Wear red to the Canada Red viewing parties at every local BP next Friday. They'll be giving away Team Canada jerseys, World Cup swag. And they're actually giving away 3 huge Trianda authentic World Cup balls from Royal Sports. They've got the $15 lunch special. And they're also doing a contest with Ultra where there will be a grand prize winner. And that winner will get a trip for 2 to the World Cup final in New York. BP is the best place to watch every World Cup game. Stick around, though, till the end of the program. We'll spin the wheel and give you a chance for a BP MVP platter. All right, let's bring in the wise words of Wiebe. Ken Wiebe of the Winnipeg Free Press joins us now. Wiebe, what's going on? First things first, how's the finger? Have you been able to resume the Manitoba Golf Tour?
Andrew, great to be with you as always. No bad news there. Had some more, not yet. It's just about ready to squeeze around the club, but No, it's not. It's still a little too tender at the top of the ring finger.
This must be driving you absolutely nuts.
It's suboptimal, Huss. You know, I like to use the word suboptimal when things aren't going the best. But yeah, we're in a little bit of a paused state here, so it's a little bit frustrating. But hopefully next week. So I know. Let's put it this way: if it was a playoff game, I would try to play, but I don't want to do more damage than good by just saying I got out there. So we're going to give it one more week and then sort of see where we go from there.
Good stuff. What do you think of Game 1 of the Cup Final?
Yeah, awesome. Fun hockey. I mean, you'd say it was like the 80s, except it wasn't, right? I mean, there was offense like the 80s, but it was also incredibly hard hitting, fast paced. In a game where 9 goals were scored, there was still some critical saves in the contest, right, Huss? I mean, Carter Hart on Stankoven. You had Freddie Anderson making some saves. It was one of the rare nights where, again, if you're a coach, you're thinking, man, how could I give up 5 or how could I give up 4? But super highly entertaining. Love the physical nature of the game, back and forth. Lots of takes being thrown around, Huss, and I'm sure we'll dig into them. But yeah, I mean, this is simple. Vegas did what they've done against every other team in the series they've played to date. Carolina came out like a house on fire, looked like they were going to win 5-0, and Vegas reset at the TV timeout, got a goal, and then went basically put the boa constrictor on for the next 25 minutes, basically, Huss. And then, yes, Stahl ties it on a shot that I'd got to get your top. I thought it went off Coughlin, to me personally. I mean, he sort of went on like the half block, and it looked like it maybe changed direction. Either way, Vegas found a way to get a goal from a guy who had a 26 or 29 game goalless drought, Huss. I mean, Tomas Hertl.
Remember the narrative around him earlier on in the playoffs?
Huss, Torts benched him to the point where he was getting 2 to 4 shifts a period. I mean, this is real stuff here. I mean, he was playing, but the fourth line had been playing so well that you could hide the fact that Hertl was struggling. And I know the expected goals folks out there were saying he was playing great. Well, yeah, he had some expected goals, but he was playing with absolutely zero confidence, and the coach had even less confidence in him. So kudos to him for getting it turned around and coming up with a big goal. Huss, I think the entire game was encapsulated by Shea Theodore's response to his first shift. I mean, I love that they pointed it out in the broadcast. Shea Theodore's, top 10, top 15, whatever number you want to put on him, one of the top defensemen, top 20, definitely defensemen in the league. On the first shift of the game, he got neither the man or the puck. And when Nikolai Ehlers was coming at him, and Huss, the golden rule, you just spent a week with your brother up at the fishing, the great folks at Aikens, right? Duncan knows you got to have the man or you got to have the puck, and Shea Theodore got neither. Ehlers goes down, Rip City scores. I love the fact that they went to Theodore on the bench, and he's like, oh my, he basically was in his mind, he said, oh my God, what was I doing? Basically, he's like, I know that I got to have the man or the puck. But again, instead of letting that absolutely ruin his entire game, he went out and got 3 points afterwards, cued the comeback with the goal, dominant force. He's averaging over 25 minutes a game. And that's what you have to do. And that, again, we always talk, what's the value of experience? Well, that's the value of experience right there. Instead of letting that absolutely bamboozle you, you just like, oh my God, I'm never going to do that again in a game that's this important. And you go out and continue to play, which, again, I'm not saying the Vegas won because of experience, but they showed their mettle and experience in the game. And Huss, this is crazy. 7 of their wins are of the comeback variety in these playoffs. I mean, we know how hard it is for teams to come back from a goal or 2 deficit. That's an incredible job by a team that really looks like they're rolling on all cylinders right now.
Ken, it seemed like all anyone really wanted to do was talk about Nikolai Ehlers and how the Jets were morons for letting him leave. But there actually was a game played afterwards that you alluded to. Vegas did win. And I got to tell you, I mean, listen, Ehlers has been awesome. I thought he saved them and kind of killed the Habs in game 2 of the last series.
Yep.
And I mean, what a brilliant start for Ehlers. But at the same point, what a devastating way to lose home ice and the start of a series when you are spotted that 2-goal lead with the team like Carolina that frankly doesn't give those up very often.
Yeah, no, they're lockdown city, Huss. And again, one of the other things too, I mean, we know that Nikolai Ehlers hated breakaways when he was here in Winnipeg. What an excellent move he makes to go to the backhand and slide it underneath the pad. That was impressive. Again, he's on for 3 goals, 4. He's obviously doing an awesome job with Jordan Stahl's line, Huss. We know this is accurate. There's been a lot of revisionist history on some fronts. But yeah, I mean, these are the facts. I mean, I think that something that's pretty evident, that the inability to lock down Paul Stastny the year that he left for Vegas after 2018, I mean, that was a massive blow to the Jets, Huss. I mean, we're still talking about second line center. And again, I think people shouldn't forget the 2 good years that PLD had here. But Paul Stastny is a guy that Ehlers loved playing with and Laine loved playing with. So again, I know they tried hard to sign him and they made him a suitable offer, but if they had been, I think the one way that to rewrite the history that a lot of people are having trouble with would have been to keep Paul Stastny around when he still had a couple of prime years left rather than when they got him back at the tail end of that deal that he ended up signing with Vegas. But I mean, great on Ehlers. I mean, Huss, these are also facts. The narrative around Mitch Marner was similar for Ehlers. I mean, he went 22 games without scoring a playoff goal. And I'm not knocking him, Huss. I just literally pulled up the story to remind myself of how Ehlers reacted in Edmonton in those bubble playoffs when he finally scored the game winner against Calgary in that game too, to finally get that kind of, I remember I wrote it. It wasn't just a monkey. It was an 800-pound gorilla. Like, it took him a long time, and I love the way that he's been able to earn the trust of his coach, Rod Brindamore, in playing on that type of shutdown line. But again, kudos to Connor, who found the clip and found the receipts. There was a time when Connor said outwardly that maybe they should play Ehlers with Adam Lowry a bit more, which is a similar role to what Stahl's playing. But yeah, I mean, to me, Ehlers is a guy who gave the Jets 10 great years. I think there was some meat left on the bone on both sides. I think he should have played more and maybe should have been given more opportunity. I think one of the biggest things is not finding a way to get him on the first power play before year 10. I mean, if that had happened 2-3 years earlier, I think he feels a little bit more valued. And I think that's kind of where I'm at on this thing. I mean, there's a lot of people with very limited knowledge of the 10-year plan that are weighing in with some pretty, toasty takes, us, God, which is what I've been seeing. But I mean, again, no one's saying it was handled perfectly, but I think also too, it's ignoring a pretty big part of the narrative. And again, that's part of the beauty of the sport. But again, the biggest thing for Ehlers, he's doing an excellent job, Huss. He also, again, a lot of those soothsayers I didn't see a lot of tweets about the fact that Ehlers was late finding Barbashev in the slot on the second Vegas goal either. But again, mistakes happen to all players. I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying that there was a big tidal wave in one corner, and the other corner is kind of over here, So
well,
again,
I mean, listen,
Ehlers is playing great, but again, he's a candidate for the Conn Smythe, but let's not pretend he's the leading candidate. But at the same time, he's been one of the best players for the Carolina Hurricanes. That is true. But again, let's see how this series unfolds here before we start handing out hardware 12 minutes into the first game.
Listen, the guy's been an unbelievable ad for the Hurricanes. He has been a devastating loss for the Winnipeg Jets.
100%.
We're all reminded of it in all caps in that period. And listen, for the folks around here, of them, which are many, that have been saying this for a number of years, I mean, they're taking victory laps. They're sort of feeling vindicated. And I get it. I mean, they're not wrong. But to your point, the amount of losers in Toronto online and elsewhere that pay zero attention to the Winnipeg Jets, that all of a sudden decided to do a little victory lapping themselves, who've been bitching about Marner the whole time. And it was like, what about Winnipeg? Ehlers, they lost him. I mean, that was a little bit much for me. But I mean, for our purposes on this show and in Jet Spaces, this has been something that's been talked about a long time. It was talked about while he was on the Jets, before he potentially left, when he left, throughout the year. And It is a little bit tough to take, I think, for a lot of Jet fans, knowing the way this season went for Winnipeg, watching what Nick's doing. And I do wonder, let me ask you this, because it's very clear that, to use your term, I think is a good one, there was some meat left on the bone, certainly with what they had in the player and how they used him. Did that come from the organization and the general manager? Or is that three different coaches? Paul Maurice, who now has 2 Stanley Cups, Rick Bowness, who's got a ton of experience, and to a lesser degree, Scott Arniel, because Arniel was the guy that actually put him on the top line. Like, was that a coaching thing? Or was this some sort of planned out thing from management, which you'll hear from a lot of people, and that who gets blamed for it, that they just didn't think Ehlers was that player, and this is who he is, this is his spot, and that's where you play him?
Yeah, I think it's just been too simplistic to say, like, the ice time argument is kind of getting out of control to me, Huss. I mean, honestly, he had 16:41 in average ice time this year with the Hurricanes throughout the course of the year. Good on him for elevating those minutes. I mean, this is a guy who was given it. It didn't work out with him with Seth Jarvis and Aho, and it didn't work out with him on the Stankoven line, but he's found a perfect place to play. And Huss, we've said this for years, the Lowry line was slotted as the third line, but going out second. So we've heard this from all of the same coaches. The issue is shift length, Huss. The reason why his ice time was always down is because his shift length was always at a manageable area, and Connor and Scheifele's was always higher. So I just think it's, but again, I also am not ignoring the fact that his 5 minutes could have been higher. Everyone's pointing to Mason Appleton last year in Game 6 and all those things. That was true. That was accurate. But us, we know this. Coaches want guys to play more, and I think some of those people are ignoring the fact. Again, Huss, I was in Banff the year that Rick Bowness took over. The first line was Ehlers, Scheifele, and Connor that year. But the problem was Ehlers got hurt like 2 periods into the season. Now, again, he should have gone back to him sooner, or could have gone back to him sooner. That's true. But it wasn't like the Jets were trying to stash Ehlers away and hold down his statistics. I mean, they wanted him to succeed. I mean, he was a great player, a very good player for a long time. And yes, I mean, I think elevating some of those minutes would have helped. Sure. But again, it's like I said, a lot of those extra minutes were cookie minutes on the power play. Those were the minutes that could have easily been added at the expense of no one. And then they maybe could have made him, maybe he's feeling a little bit more part of it, I guess, us, if you will. But I don't know. I mean, I think that there were times where Ehlers needed more, but there were times when he needed to be given more. Like, this is very much chicken and egg for me, Huss, I think. So, and one last thing. The magic carpet ride that Ehlers, Velarde, and Scheifele went on after the Kyle Connor injury was outstanding from about November 10th to December 22nd. But Huss, I want those same people to go back and look at the 6 or 8 games coming out of the Christmas break. They didn't have the same magic going at that time. Now, that's not to say they shouldn't have tried it more. I'm not saying that, but the sample size was small on both sides, and one of it was like Haley's Comet, and the other part was they didn't get a whole lot accomplished. So anyways, there's a lot of things on both sides, but this is the biggest thing. Huss, I give Nikolai Ehlers credit. He wanted to go to a contender. He went to a contender, chose wisely, then had his best season of his career, and that is a testament to Nikolai Ehlers. But let's not pretend that there weren't many times when people like you or I thought Ehlers could be a 35 to 40 goal scorer and have 80 points, right? It's not like he all of a sudden took his game to a crazy new level. Unfortunately for Ehlers, he had a bunch of injuries that set him back in certain years. And Huss, here's the other part. Nikolai Ehlers, if he doesn't bump into the linesman in Chicago in game 70, whatever it was, 76 or 77, what might that have meant for his playoff, right? I mean, that injury disrupted what was a magical season. He probably would have eclipsed 70 points already last year with the Jets. And he came back and had 7 points in 8 games and was a very effective player. But it just was unfortunate timing at a time when the Jets needed all of their guys to try to get past St. Louis and Dallas. And I don't think Ehlers was ever at 100% at the end of that year. So anyways, like I said, good on him for the way that he's playing. And he's on a team that has 0 unrestricted free agents that are pending. So Carolina, for all of the talk about Montreal just being Montreal is Winnipeg in 2018 right now. That's it. That's all the guarantee they have, right? They got to beat Buffalo again. They got to beat Tampa again. They're going to have to beat Florida probably. And guess what? Carolina is going nowhere in the Eastern Conference other than probably staying at the top of the pile.
Yeah, hopefully they don't implode internally next season and then have to pay that back for a couple years and to do all that stuff. Hey, by the way, we got a really interesting report I want to get to that's just dropping right now.
Okay.
But hey, this segment is brought to you by Prairie Toyota Dealers and the Toyota Tacoma. The Toyota, it's the most powerful Tacoma ever with towing capacity of up to 6,400 pounds and the live panoramic multi-terrain view monitor. Gives you a live underfloor view to navigate even the toughest terrain. Experience power, capability, and convenience with the Toyota Tacoma. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Prairie Toyota dealer during Red Tag Days. Wiebe, I've got a couple more Jets things I want to get to in just a second, but Elliot Friedman just reporting that Dylan Larkin has requested a trade from the Detroit Red Wings. Thoughts on that little tidbit from the Frege?
Yeah, interesting for sure, especially given not only the fact that he is a Detroit Red Wings captain, he is a guy who played at Michigan and is from Michigan, Huss, right? So we know there's been a lot of heat on Larkin in that market for, especially lately. But a guy who played, very well at the Olympics, pretty well at the Four Nations. I mean, this is a guy who, is a incredibly good number 2, if not a number 1 on a good chunk of teams in the National Hockey League. So again, the asking price is going to be super high, but again, you're getting a good two-way player who has team control, Huss, right? So
yeah, 2031, he's signed at $8.7 million. Now, full no trade right now going the next season. I think it's modified after that. So for those of us that are all hoping, Larkin would look good.
Hey, who he's buddies with us? Kyle Connor and Dylan Larkin are quite close. But again, we're not playing connect the dots quite yet. But I'm sure he would welcome him to Winnipeg. But again, the price tag is going to be steep. And Huss, what we know from listening to all the teams that are not left standing in the final 2. There's probably 12 to 14 or higher who are already looking for a second line center.
Oh, you don't say.
The competition for his services will be quite high. But yeah, I mean, Dylan Larkin's a very good player for a very long time. But us, the other part about having the cost certainty, I mean, he's another one of those guys who's going to be kind of mid to late 30s by the time the deal is up, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he'll be mid 30s. I mean, he's 29 right now. It's 2026 and it goes till... Okay. He's got 5 more years on his deal.
34, sorry.
So, I mean, you're basically getting some good years from Dylan Larkin for sure. That'll be something interesting to follow. Now, for all the talk about Ehlers and stuff, it does come back to the Jets offseason. We know there's big-time needs that they need to do. But I think looking back at this season, anyone would agree there's a number of things they need to do better. Mark Chipman spoke to it, while at the same point backing his guys – and no one's expecting any changes at the GM position. They did speak to reevaluating everything and trying to, maybe grow that hockey operations department, which is a lot thinner and leaner than most other teams, which brings us to Shane Doan's visit last week. You and Mike reported it and talked about it in the Winnipeg Free Press. Thoughts on what the fit might be and whether it's Doan or someone else, what is Jets management looking to do to the hockey operations department to push them forward and put them in a better place?
For sure, Huss. I mean, this with your own history with True North, but continuity has been something that they value. But at the same time, after 15 years in league, I think there would be some benefits to having a fresh set of eyes, around the organization in terms of those personnel decisions. Whether it's, again, Shane's not here to scout, but I mean, I think most likely it would be an assistant general manager role, Huss, to me. That would make the most sense for Shane Doan. There's some speculation on the hockey, player development side, maybe. But to me, this is a guy who wants to either at some point be a president or a general manager of a hockey team, but knows that he needs some additional experience on those fronts. I think that Shane's a smart guy. I mean, a lot of people trying to dunk on him because he was with the Leafs this year and the Leafs underachieved. Well, Shane was also with them last year when the Leafs had one of their best seasons of all time, Huss. So he's also got some great international experience, in his involvement with Team Canada on a number of fronts on the international scene. This is a guy who has a huge passion for hockey. Again, Toronto is a great situation for him, working with Brad Shaliving, but also being an hour and a bit drive away from being able to see his son play. That wouldn't be available here in Winnipeg. But I think that Shane is someone too, Huss. I mean, people don't necessarily want to talk about it, but if Arizona becomes a possibility, if they could finally get a rink built at some point, I think, we know that Shane has ties to Arizona, but I do think that he would make sense on a lot of levels for the Jets here. And I don't think it would be as a president role. I think it would be more on the hockey ops and personnel side as a third assistant general manager with Larry Simmons and Craig Heisinger. And just one other quick note, like the amount of things in my mentions about, oh my God, another True North person. Like Shane has no connection to True North. He played for the Jets when True North was not involved. Craig Heisinger was the equipment manager, Huss, when Shane Doan played his 56 games as a general
in the way
manager.
of a good narrative, Ken. Come on. No, he's been here
Shane
the whole
Doan
time.
played here as an 18-year-old.
96.
And the people that are saying, oh my God, didn't Shane say he'd never want to play in Winnipeg? Shane said he wasn't ready to uproot his family when it was going to be the Coyotes and not the Thrashers that were expected to move to Winnipeg. So let's not pretend Shane Doan is a Winnipeg hater. Shane Doan would be more on the Patrick Laine Winnipeg is good camp, Huss, from my conversations with him over the years as a player. So again, who knows where it goes? I don't know if there's been an offer made or what Shane is mulling over. We know he, applied for and interviewed for the Canucks president job before the Sedin brothers and twins got the co-president's role. But to me, I think it would be more of a assistant general manager role. But Shane's the kind of guy that I think wants to be involved in hockey and is willing to do whatever, like sort of other duties as assigned in terms of, whether it's helping out wherever to help make a better roster. I mean, this is a guy who loves the game, oozes passion for hockey, and I think he'd be a great fit. And don't worry about one season in 95, 96 when he was a teenager. I mean, that's got nothing to do with the direction, or this isn't there's True
30
North
years ago.
in. Like, come on, people, this is
30
again,
years
this
ago.
is wake up territory here. Let's not be going into the crazy narratives that are not accurate, Huss. And quickly, sorry, I know you have something else, but I know you're talking with Mike about Mason McTavish. Now, again, second line center is a priority position here. And Huss, a lot of people up in arms, oh my God, look at his Jay Fresh player card. Well, these are the kind of players that are available. Guys that had a step back last year. That you're not getting a guy who just had 80 points. You're getting a guy that you're banking on him rebounding. Now, to me, Huss, zero chance. Number 8 overall is for Mason McTavish for either team. The Ducks are in win now mode. They just got their first taste of the playoffs. I'm not saying they wouldn't want the 8th overall pick, but that's not what they're looking for. They're looking to move Mason McTavish, if they move him, for a guy that can help their top 6. They already have too many defensemen on the back end. But yes, it's true. Joel Quenneville and Mason McTavish, for whatever reason, weren't on the same page this year, which resulted in McTavish being a healthy scratch for some playoff games. Mason McTavish is also a guy, Huss, that's been over 20 goals already in 2 seasons where he was 17 or 18. And he's also a guy that was a leader. He won a championship in junior. He played on the World Junior team. He played at the Olympics, which I totally forgot about, Huss, during one of the other years in 22. So again, he's not fast, but he is physical. He's a guy that can produce. So again, is he a perfect fit at 2C? Not necessarily for a team trying to get faster, but he's got incredibly high competitive level. He's been a winner. He's been a leader on teams, and he would be the kind of player that you're banking on. But again, now what's the cost? I mean, that would be the big question. Now, again, and I'm not saying this is something the Jets would do, but I mean, if you're Pat Verbeek, you're probably saying, well, if you want McTavish, I want Perfetti or something like that, right? So then you have to weigh, if you're, the other thing about McTavish, Huss, is that he's under contract. He just signed a 7-year deal at about $7 million. So now you have certainty at that position for the next 6 years or whatever. So again, it would be an interesting debate and conversation to have. And again, I'm not saying they should do it. I'm just saying that if you're looking to get a value player from a guy who's drafted third overall, you're probably having to give someone who was also a first round pick and has shown signs of being a, 55 to 65 point player and may have a higher ceiling than that.
Yeah, I they put so much. Listen, like ever since Bones came in, it seems like they like choir boys. Everyone kumbaya in the locker room. You want to have a good room. Who doesn't? I'm not sure whether he's a fit as the type of dude that he is, whether that would work. But to be honest, with the way that the team is right now, I had a funny conversation with Dunk when we were fishing, and he was talking about the makeup of teams, and we were talking about guys that were kind of out there, maybe not totally always in line with everything, but talented, and the ones can maybe do some wacko things. And he said, you know what, you can have one of those guys on your team. It's the 10% rule. If you got 20 on your roster and you got one guy like that or none, maybe you don't really have that edge. If you got two, that's probably perfect. If you got 3, 4, 5, your team's probably a bunch of maniacs and it will fall apart at the seams. So maybe he could fit in here, being a bit of a different guy that could come in. He certainly has the talent. He was drafted where he did for a reason. We've seen him against the Jets look like a very, very talented player at times, and that is some intrigue, which we'll get to before. Hey, listen, we got to run, but we get in a tied series. How long? To me, this is must-win territory for Carolina tonight. Where are you at on the series right now, and will it be 1-1 heading back to Vegas?
It's a great question. I'm very intrigued to see how Carolina comes out of the gate, right? They came out so strong in game one. How much of that momentum can be carried over by Vegas? Can they, the way that the rink went nuts, Lenovo Center going nuts like 25 seconds in, can they get something like that again? I don't think that Vegas will, again, I'm not saying they were nervous out of the gate, but they made a nervous play on the first shift. But, I'm very curious. I picked Vegas in 6. But again, I think in order for that to happen, I think that Carolina needs to kind of hold serve here. But at the same time, based on how well Vegas is playing, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 2-0. But again, at the same time, I think that Carolina is too good a team to get swept in this series. But again, that's up to them to show and to prove. And here's the other thing. And Rod, I'm glad Rod Brindamore said out loud what everyone's been thinking. Let's just put it this way: in order for it to be 1-1, they have to get production from Sebastian Aho, Andrei Svechnikov, and Seth Jarvis. And it's not just one of them. That line hasn't been good enough. Jarvis had the best chance of the 3 the other night in the third period. That line has not been good enough in the playoffs, and I think that Seth is going to have his best game of the playoffs this evening, but he needs help. Aho is a bona fide two-way center. He's not been good enough, Huss, quite frankly, and Vegas, quite frankly, has 4 centers that are playing better than their number 1 center, and it's hard to even a series if that's the case and if that doesn't change.
Ken, great stuff as always, pal. Have a good one, and I look forward to seeing you out on the links very soon when this healing process finally is completed.
Thanks for having me, my friend. Have a great rest of the week and enjoy the CFL opener as well.
Free press and at Wiebe's World on X. There's our buddy Ken Wiebe. Speaking of which, while we're talking about this, I'll throw Why Not question of the day out to all of you in the chat. Mason Marchment, in or out? Would you trade a package that would, like Ken said, include a Cole Perfetti? Probably that would be where it started. I'd imagine there might be a little bit more that would have to go with him. Do you do that? Let us know in the chat for the Why Not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. All right, we going to talk some Jays. I'm cooking up a little parlay for the Bombers and the weekend in the Canadian Football League. Jake Bowen-Moss is going to join us in a little bit. But hey, remind you, next week, it's the World Cup. If you haven't gotten your Canada jersey or your Canada gear yet, get down to Royal Sports at 750 Pembina Highway. You won't believe all the World Cup gear that is in store now, ready to go, including jerseys of many of the top stars on Canada's men's national team. They've got the official tournament ball. And for people that love the beautiful game and play it, the best selection of soccer cleats, kits, jerseys, and more, not to mention so many other teams participating in the World Cup. While you're at it, softball, baseball, tennis, the biggest and best selection of athletic shoes in the city, and so many bikes coming in by the week. The amazing bike section, including e-bikes. So it's all at Royal Sports. Get ready for summer and the World Cup today, 750 Pembina Highway. Make sure to follow them on Instagram as well at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Goldeyes back at it tonight, finishing up their series with Sioux Falls. Good thing they had that early game at 11 a.m. yesterday, because I don't think they were going to get one in the evening. And a big slate coming up this weekend. We got Goldie's birthday on the weekend. We got fireworks on Friday, 7 p.m. game on Friday, 6 p.m. on Saturday, 1 o'clock with a family day as the week-long series leaves. Do not forget, by the way, everyone, Goldeyes tickets for our WST patio party night are on sale right now. Get them before they're gone. Go to winnipegsportstalk.com/tickets. Or actually, just go to winnipegsportstalk.com. You'll see the link. That's a lot easier for me to describe it to you. Grab your seats. Tuesday, June 30th. Next day is Canada Day. Be a day off. You can maybe let her rip a little bit more than you might normally be able to on a Tuesday. Should be phenomenal. Shout out to everyone that's already got their tickets. We're looking forward to seeing you, but make it happen. We sold this out last year. Would love to do it again. So join us, and especially you podcast listeners that aren't able to participate in the chat. Meet the gang, hang out with us, have a great day at the ballpark. Tuesday, June 30th. Get your tickets at the website, winnipegsportstalk.com. Really looking forward to getting out next week, a week today. We're going to be doing the show at the Forks at the Visitor Information Center with Travel Manitoba. Should be a lot of fun. If you are planning your next adventure, start with Travel Manitoba. Whether you're searching for road trip inspiration, hidden gems, or the latest festivals and events, everything you need is waiting at travelmanitoba.com. If you're looking for ideas on the go, follow along on social media at Travel Manitoba for real-time inspiration, local tips, and can't-miss experiences from across the province. Or if you prefer a personal touch, stop by one of their the Visitor Information Center at the Forks in Winnipeg. And once again, huge thanks to all of our friends at the Downs last night. We recapped it at the start of the show. The buffet, unbelievable. You got to get there at some point this year and spend the evening in the dining room. You can make arrangements and make reservations by calling Assiniboia Downs. And back at it at the track Tuesdays and Wednesdays throughout the year. Western Wednesday's fun. You can ride the mechanical bull like Remis did, get into some line dancing. And then the Mondays throughout the year, select Mondays, amazing concession deals. And the 13th of July, I'm declaring myself back for the 13th of July because they're doing wiener dog races. But thanks to Sherry and Darren for the hospitality last night. Phenomenal. Check out the full live racing schedule today at asdowns.com. All right, Jake's going to join us a little later on. Right now, though, let's get the latest on the Blue Jays and just how painful this Stanley Cup Final has been for Leaf fans. Let's welcome in Rob Wong from Postmedia in Toronto. Looking forward to this next segment. Let's welcome in Rob Wong, covering the Blue Jays and much more for Postmedia and the Toronto Sun. Rob, it's great to have you on Winnipeg Sports Talk. How are you?
I'm good, Andrew. Maybe not so much for Toronto sports fans with the way the Blue Jays are going and having to watch the Stanley Cup Final with Mitch Marner and Frederik Andersen battling out right now.
I feel ya. Spent probably half the show yesterday talking about Nikolai Ehlers, and that's not a new topic in and around here. Let me just ask you, I mean, how badly do Leaf fans just want this season and this Cup Final in particular to be over and in the rearview mirror?
Yeah, it's been pretty interesting to watch this Cup Final and all the talk about the Maple Leafs, despite the fact that they're not even in the Stanley Cup playoffs and they're not in the Stanley Cup Final. But every few days, people want to talk about the Maple Leafs, and Mitch Marner is a big reason why. And I think what actually bothers Toronto sports fans and Leafs fans in particular about this whole Marner thing is the revisionist history and all the talk that it was Toronto that pushed him out and Toronto that didn't appreciate him. And they're the ones that have forced Mitch Marner to become this amazing playoff performer for the Vegas Golden Knights. But the reality is that if the Maple Leafs had their druthers, they would have wanted to re-sign him. They would have wanted to bring him back. I know they did try to trade him at the deadline in his final year to the Carolina Hurricanes, and that didn't work out. But a large part of that was because Marner's camp didn't want to talk extension. They weren't interested at that point. So the Maple Leafs had to make a decision, and they, felt for the best thing for the franchise would be to try to bring in a Mikko Rantanen. We know that didn't work out. So I think it's more the conversation around why the Maple Leafs and Mitch Marner parted ways that is bothering Leafs fans more than anything. They obviously don't want to see him win a cup. I don't think many people would want to see that. They've been through that before with the Nazem Kadris and Phil Kessel and Tyler Bozak. And I think on some level, Leafs fans were happy that those guys won because they were, fan favorites to a certain extent. But there's a lot of Mitch Marner haters out there. And I think it's more just the conversation around it that's really bothering people more than the actual on-ice performance. People know Mitch Marner is a good player. It just was never going to work out in Toronto.
Yeah, they're just going to hope to walk to the podium, get Gavin McKenna, move forward, and hopefully just not pay attention to the Sun or anywhere else if Mitch comes back with the cup. And dare I say, maybe the Conn Smythe Trophy. There was a hilarious quote. I mean, I was just reading from CJ from Media Day, where Marner, he didn't want to elaborate on his comment about the dark times early in his career, but said he will if the Knights win the cup, which Jeff Follett said he's basically sneak previewing a conditional "I told you so." And it's very different here in Winnipeg. I mean, Ehlers was absolutely beloved here, and most of the angst and anger, while we sort of get our noses rubbed in it, is that, the organization didn't maybe appreciate him more and do what they could do to keep him, because they've been very successful keeping most of their other top players. But Ehlers was the one that got away. And of course, Ehlers was the one that, that scored early on. But the funny thing is, in both of these markets, everyone's talking about Ehlers. Everyone's talking about Marner. The one thing that no one's really talking about is the fact that the Vegas Knights came back and won that hockey game. They're up 1-0 in the series. So the storylines and angles are different from market to market, but it's definitely being viewed, I think, this final a little differently in Toronto and in Winnipeg. And one thing that I think both cities have in common is that they were hoping we would have the reprieve of a great Blue Jays season to take us away from a spring that didn't have their hockey teams in. And, it's been a real up and down so far. When we look at the Jays right now at this point in the season, going into this finale in Atlanta tonight, is the story more the injuries that they've been dealing with? Is it, a lack of offense or missing bats? Or is it bullpen? Or is it just maybe high expectations that, considering what they did last year, were almost inevitably going to be hard to achieve?
Yeah, well, I think we can start there. The way that they played in the second half of last year was truly remarkable and was an incredible run. Nobody expected them to do what they did last year, and that includes the playoffs, of course. But you kind of hit on it. It's sort of a myriad of different things. For the most part, I think the pitching has held up, and that's been a big reason why the Blue Jays are where they are right now, still just a game and a half back of a wild card spot. You look at some of the reliever performances they've got this year, whether it's a Louis Varland, Tyler Rogers, Mason Fluharty, Braden Fisher, and in the rotation with guys like Kevin Gossman, Dylan Cease, and Trey Savage since he's come back. But the injuries have played a part, and not having Alejandro Kirk for a large chunk of this season and Addison Barger, two key guys from last year's team, would have made just such a big difference with the offense that the Blue Jays have right now. And another part with the offense is just a lot of key guys are underperforming. I don't think anyone would have expected George Springer to have a similar year to the one he had last year. It was really came out of nowhere. And I think people forget that this guy is 36 years old. Father Time catches up with everyone. So you would have expected a step back, but maybe this is a further step back than people expected. He is dealing with a fractured toe, of course, and who knows how much of a factor that is as far as his day-to-day ability to get on the field and perform at the major league level. But of course, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is the other sort of standout with regards to underperformance this year. And to be honest with you, Andrew, I'm shocked. I thought coming off his playoff performance, not that he would be able to replicate that over a whole season, but I didn't think we'd be having this conversation again where, you're starting to question how good is this guy actually? If he is so elite of a hitter, why does he go through such horrific slumps that don't seem to happen as much to some of the other star hitters around the league? I would say as well, to sort of counter my own point, is that we've seen him go through this before, and every time we count this guy out, he finds a way through. You think about 2020 during COVID, where he was out of shape and was really, really bad for that Blue Jays team that made a wild card spot. He goes out and has the 2021 season where he just completely turns around his career. But then 22, 23, he's kind of lost in the woods again, searching for it. And then 2024 has one of the best seasons in all of Major League Baseball. Last year, not a great season, especially in the final month of September. And then he has one of the greatest performances in the history of playoff baseball. So feels like every time you want to count this guy out, he does figure it out and find a way. But the thing is, we don't know when that's going to happen. We know it's going to happen at some point, and you just hope it's sooner rather than later, because this Blue Jays team needs to stay in the mix here in the playoff race.
I mean, listen, they're missing a bunch of guys, both that are out of the lineup and some of the best of guys you mentioned, like with Vlad, that are in the lineup right now. We should not be surprised, but would you agree that the importance of Alejandro Kirk has been magnified during his absence from the Blue Jays?
Oh, it's massive. I mean, not even just for his defense, which we know is great. And the cool part is that the guys that have been filling in Brandon Valenzuela and Tyler Heineman, they've been fine defensively. That's not the issue. Valenzuela has actually been pretty good at the plate as well, which has surprised a lot of people. But he's usually batting in the bottom third of the order where, maybe there's not as many men on base when he comes up to bat. Whereas Alejandro Kirk, who we know can be a strong offensive player, would be coming up when there are men on base. He would generally be hitting fourth, fifth, maybe sixth on the occasional day, and not having that player that can drive in runs would be such a big boost for this offense, which has struggled a lot of times. You look at the game on Wednesday night, that first inning, that's a very 2026 Toronto Blue Jays inning where they load the bases with nobody out, but they score a run on a double play, and then Ernie Clement strikes out, and the threat is over. Just like that. It feels like there's been way too many of those types of innings this year where it seems like they're ready to put up a crooked number, and then for whatever reason they can't get a big hit. And we know Alejandro Kirk has that ability. So luckily he is on the mend, and it does seem like he's going to be back pretty soon. He did hit a home run in his first rehab outing in Dunedin last night, which was good to see. And Addison Barger isn't too far behind. Probably just needs a couple more weeks. So fingers crossed that when those guys come back, they can at least help. I don't think anyone believes they are saviors and that the season will completely turn around. But you'd rather have those guys than not have them at this point of the year.
Rob Wong with us from Postmedia, talking Blue Jays right now as they get ready for the finale against the, I believe, league leading Atlanta Braves right now. 42-20? What a squad they've got there in Georgia. I'll go back to Saturday. It seemed like the team was sort of on a roll. We've been waiting. Can it just chip away, get to 500, and then we move? And it looked like they were about to get above 500 for the first time, really since the first week of the season or whatever. And then it was Jeff Hoffman time. And this has been an issue at times in the bullpen. And you mentioned the other arms. I mean, Varland and Rogers that have been so good. What's the future for Jeff Hoffman? And can John Schneider throw him out, even in the 7th, 8th, and 9th earlier if they move him down as they did more successfully earlier on? Or might this be time for a change of scenery and another arm in the pen?
So I'll start by saying I'm not here to sugarcoat Jeff Hoffman's season. It hasn't been good when you've got an ERA over 6. I don't think anyone can justify that you're having a really strong year. But maybe it's the contrarian in me, Andrew. I do feel like I've been pushing back on the Jeff Hoffman conversation a little bit. Since Saturday, you look at the recent stretch he had since he was removed from the closer up until that Saturday game. He was one of the best relievers on the team and one of the best relievers in all of baseball. He even picked up a couple of saves, which people were complaining about on Saturday. How can you pitch this guy in the 9th? Well, the previous week, he got 2 saves in the 9th inning, one in New York, one in Pittsburgh. So the idea that he can't pitch in the 9th inning and, struggles in that aspect every time, I don't necessarily agree. But coming off that outing on Saturday, you would have to think it plays on the psyche of manager John Schneider, just wondering, how often can I trust this guy in that role on that day on Saturday, the Blue Jays didn't have many options. It was either they run out Connor Siebold, who is a journeyman minor leaguer, journeyman major leaguer, 30 years old, or you trust in a guy in Jeff Hoffman, who up until that point had been pitching really well. I think it was sort of a no-brainer, and it's difficult because he can be really good. We've seen it, but he also has this other alter ego to him where he just has these blow up innings inexplicably, which I think is hard for a lot of people to explain, and even Jeff Hoffman to explain. So I think the answer is they're going to keep using him. They're going to keep running him out there in these lower leverage situations if they can control it, because as I said, we've seen it. He has major league stuff and he can perform really well. The thing is, and I've said it recently as well, Andrew, I just don't know how he can come back from this as far as the fan base goes. I think just not many people have a ton of faith in this guy, and I'm sure he knows about it, of course, coming off what happened in the World Series and some moments so far this year. Fans are just never going to trust this guy when he gets out on the mound. It's going to take something pretty heroic for him, I think, to change the public perception that people have about him. But I think if you try to take a step back and take the 10,000 feet look at Jeff Hoffman, you'll see that there is actually a good major league pitcher in there that maybe, just deserves to have some more lower leverage opportunities at this point to make sure that he doesn't get in these spots where he's blowing up every once in a while.
As tough as the first quarter or 40%, whatever of the season has been for the Jays, on Saturday, it looked like they were on the verge of getting above 500, and they actually got into a wild card spot. Well, unfortunately, they haven't won since then. And again, you're going up against the Braves tonight, who are 42-20. You'd love to find a way to salvage something out of this series and get to 3 below 500, but it could be 5. And then home against Baltimore, the Phillies, and the New York Yankees. Just in your mind, Rob, with where the Jays are right now, knowing the goal is to, at minimum, be a playoff team, and you're still waiting to get guys back, how urgent is the period right now with these home games and this upcoming homestand for the Jays to, not just carve away and go 4-5 or 5-4, but get on a bit of a roll as they look to bring these bats in that we've talked about that they've been waiting for the last month and a half?
Well, this month is brutal. June is definitely one I had circled on my calendar prior to the season, just with the amount of strong contenders that they were going to play. And we're seeing the Braves now, the Orioles we saw last week, and they're not too bad despite having a similar record to the Blue Jays. You mentioned it, the Phillies, the Yankees, there's the Cubs coming up later in the month. And then there's a really emotional series at the end of the month with the New York Mets, who are not great, but of course they have some talented players in Juan Soto, and Bo Bichette, of course, makes his return. Not to say that this is a month where if the Blue Jays struggle that they can't make the playoffs, there would still be 3 months left of baseball to play. But it's important that they don't fall too far behind in this wild card race at this point. The one thing that's working in their favor is everybody else is pretty bad too. So the Baltimore Orioles, who we just touched on, similar record to the Jays. You've got a team in the Oakland Athletics who are under 500. They're holding that third wild card spot. The Texas Rangers also under 500. So you've got all these teams that are really scuffling like the Blue Jays, and you just hope that with the return of the Kirks and the Bargers and Dylan Cease and Shane Bieber and Max Scherzer, that a healthy Blue Jays team can get back into this. So that's sort of been the one saving grace, that everybody else is just as bad, and that the Blue Jays are right there with them still. And we'll see who wins this rock fight, I guess, down the stretch.
Well, one thing that we can definitely lean on if you're a Jays fan right now is some of the pitching performances. We talked about the bullpen. Gosman is Gosman. Dylan Cease has been phenomenal. But before we let go, I want to ask you about Savage. He burst onto the scene last year with that incredible year where he went all the way through the league. And next thing you know, he's pitching in the World Series for the Blue Jays in some of the most important moments. Slow start. They didn't have him in earlier. Just thoughts on how he's looked this year, and what is the potential for Savage during the next few years as he really becomes an established major leaguer in the Toronto organization?
Yeah, it's been really remarkable just to watch what he's able to do. And I think that was a question I had, and I'm sure you had, and many others did as well, is coming off that World Series and coming off some of those high pressure games at the end of September when he made his major league debut, is how is this guy going to fare when it's a random Monday game against some American League playoff or non-playoff team? How is he going to perform when the lights aren't as bright? And it turns out he's going to perform just as well as he does come the playoffs. So I think that's really what stood out to me, that every time this guy goes out there, he's treating it like it's a playoff game, like it's a World Series matchup, like he doesn't waver. And we saw the game in Baltimore last week where he did not have his best stuff. I think he walked a career high 7 guys and was still able to work himself out of that game and give the Blue Jays an opportunity to win it. It was that Saturday game, actually, where Jeff Hoffman blew it in the 9th inning. But I think that's just what stands out to me, that this guy is so unflappable. When things are not going his way, he still figures it out and gives the Blue Jays as much as he humanly can to give them an opportunity to win. And as far as his career moving forward, I don't know if he'll ever get to an ace type of pitcher like we see guys like Paul Skeens, and we see Christopher Sanchez in Philadelphia with the Phillies and what he's done this year, or a Shohei Ohtani. I'm not sure he's that guy, but he's clearly someone that you can trust and want to use in the first couple of games of a playoff series. So maybe he's a number 2, but that's definitely not bad. There's only so many aces out there, and the Blue Jays have a guy in Trey Savage who on his best day can look like an ace, which I think you feel really good about.
Well, 6:15 Winnipeg time tonight. Jays in Atlanta, and then back from massive 9-game homestand, 3 against the Orioles, 3 against the Phillies, and 3 against New York. And by the end of that Yankee series, the World Cup will be fully underway. Just before we go, Rob, I mean, is there a lot of World Cup hype and excitement in and around Toronto? Would you know that it's coming? And are people in Toronto more excited about the event or more pissed off than the Kirks at FIFA trying to charge $3,000 for a ticket to get in and watch our team?
Oh man, people are always going to complain about ticket prices, and I agree. They're pretty ridiculous. Just looking at the numbers, I would say the buzz is pretty steady. I don't know if there's like a ton of excitement that people are going wild for the World Cup. I think people that live here are definitely concerned about what the traffic situation is going to be like and what it's just going to be like walking around the city. I mean, the city of Toronto is not hosting an event like this really ever. I can think back to when I was a kid and there was talk about Toronto going for the '96 Olympics, challenging Atlanta, and thank God Toronto didn't get that, because we have seen how the Olympics affect cities and moving forward. But yeah, I think Canada is really excited for this event, and Toronto will be next week when the games get started. But right now, I think sort of tempered excitement as far as what's going to happen here in Toronto with the events. A lot of questions just about the infrastructure and how things are going to work as far as getting to games and what it's going to be like. So I guess once it's all over, we'll be able to reflect and see how it all played out. This is a first for Toronto hosting an event of this nature. I mean, the World Cup is unlike anything other. Yeah, it does probably rival something like the Olympics. I'm going to be excited to watch it, and hopefully Canada can perform. We know how banged up they are right now, and hopefully they're just healthy enough to start 11 guys coming next Friday.
Rob Wong is our guest. Postmedia, the 3 Up, 3 Down podcast as well. Just fill people in on the pod and what else you have cooking for Jays fans and more on in the digital streets.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for shouting out the podcast, 3 Up, 3 Down podcast, my own personal Jays pod, available every Monday and Thursday. You can find it on Apple and Spotify. And otherwise, you'll find me at the Toronto Sun, Postmedia, where I'm a digital sports host doing a ton of different videos, Blue Jays, NHL, golf, football, you name it. I'm doing sports talk all the time and loving every minute of it. Always glad to chat with you, Andrew, and go Carolina. Let's see how they do in game 2.
Yeah, well, at least hopefully that will be the case. And then you won't have to go do a digital reel of Mitch's day with the Cup in Toronto.
I'll be there, front lines. I'll be covering it. Mitch Marner in Markham, Ontario, when he brings the Cup and the Conn Smythe.
Enjoy the game tonight, Rob. Thanks for doing this.
No problem, Andrew. You too.
Yeah, Jays in Atlanta tonight. Thanks again to Rob for jumping on. Jays in Atlanta tonight to take on the 42-20 Braves. Braves a massive -270 favorite. Jays +210 over at Coolbet. We're going to hit the lines. I've cooked something up for week 1 in the Canadian Football League. Jake's going to jump on in just a minute. I do want to thank our friends at Aikens Lake. Man, had an unbelievable week there last week. If you are looking for a world-class fly-in fishing destination where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg. Aikens is the spot. And you'll get world-class fishing and even more world-class hospitality at the beautiful Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge from the Trent family and the Aikens team. Find out more online at aikenslake.com and check them out on all of their social channels at Aikens Lake. Man, is Breezy looking nice. I did pop in there in between our time at Elm Creek yesterday and Assiniboia Downs. Got a chance to see a whole bunch of the fellas and Corey. It was rain delay at that point, as you can imagine, with the weather that rolled in last night. But it's just so great to see. I mean, the men's night, the YE night, the ladies' nights, everything is so well attended. The social scene at Breezy is second to none. If you're thinking about a long-term golfing home for you and your family at one of Winnipeg's top private courses, I suggest you go to breezybend.ca for more information on membership at Breezy Bend, or give our pal Corey Johnson a call at 895-7205. Looking forward to getting out and doing a show in Breezy at Breezy Bend. I think we're going to probably do it around when Breezy hosts the Manitoba Senior Open, which should be a lot of fun later on this year. All right, we got a Chud's Power Poll preseason before kickoff of the Canadian Football League, and we're hitting the cool bet lines. First up, though, let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, it is CFL kickoff tonight. Just before we bring in Jake and take a look at the lines for week one, as well as the futures, and give you your last chance opportunity to get in on our free contest to win a trip to the Grey Cup, courtesy of CoolBet. Let's bang out, Remis, our Chud's Power Poll for today. Preseason Canadian Football League, of course, brought to you by Chud's Power Sports, Manitoba's Power Sports Superstore for 80 years, up in Gimli at the corner of Highway 8 and 231. Check them out online at chudspowersports.com. All right, I'm going to blind rank these. Hamilton Tiger Cats. Well, the Tiger Cats to me are sort of middle of the pack team. I'm expecting a few other teams ahead. I'm going to go Tie Cats at 5, Remo, for a preseason at least. Maybe Bo Levi will turn it around. Ooh, the Riders. You know what Ric Flair says? To be the man, you got to beat the man. And the Riders are the man. However, when you're the man, a lot of the players on your squad get paid and go elsewhere. And I do wonder how dominant that defense will be after the offseason departures. You know what? I'm going to go 4 for the Riders right now. And maybe that's showing my Bomber allegiance. Winnipeg Blue Bombers right out of the gate. Well, it's tough to put them after last season in the top 2, I guess. But I do have high hopes for the Bombers this season. And much like Moe, I'm with Moe Khan. Winnipeg and Montreal coming to make the final. But I guess for preseason, we will go... No, you know what? Let's go 2. Let's go 2 for the Bombers. Everyone's all over the Bombers. Now, to me, the Montreal Alouettes, and if you look at CoolBet, they are the Grey Cup favorite. I think they deserve to be. They got a quarterback that never loses. If they can stay healthy, I think they have a much easier path to the Grey Cup than anybody else, certainly in the West. So Montreal gets the number 1 spot on the Chud's Power Poll, and that leaves BC. I know a lot of people around the league are already planning the parade down Robson Street for the BC Lions. We know that the BC Lions have a kryptonite, and that is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Nathan Rourke in particular, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We're going to go 3 for BC. So there's our preseason power poll. Montreal, Winnipeg, BC, Sask, Hamilton, with a little bit of homer love for the Bombers at 2. But bring on the season. Tomorrow night, Friday Night Football, 8 p.m., my boy Dustin Nielsen and Luke Wilson with the call on TSN's Friday Night Football. And tonight we kick off the season with Montreal and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And to get ready for the CFL season, our pick'em contest, and more. Let's bring in Jake Boland-Moss. It's been a bit since I've talked to Jake. He was away globetrotting, and now I am back from the fishing trip last week, and what a perfect time to get through it. We're both victimized by the Stanley Cup Final. All anyone wants to talk about is Marner or Ehlers right now, even though there's a series going on. Jake, what's up, buddy? Great to talk to you again.
Yeah, Huss, it's been like a month, buddy. It's great to chat with you again. I was on last week just chopping it up with Remo and Connor. That was great. We got the league going, so I think there's about 60-plus people right now in the CFL league. We'll get into more details on that. Still plenty of time to sign up. I'll answer some questions that I've been getting as well, kind of in the Discords and on socials and stuff like that, just to clear anything up with anyone who hasn't signed up yet, still wants to get involved. Yeah, I'm fired up to chat with you, fired up for, not only CFL, but we got Stanley Cup Game 2 tonight, unbelievable Game 1 in the NBA Finals last night. The Blue Jays are kind of sputtering right now, but a lot of season left there as well.
Yeah, ever since Jeff Hoffman threw up all over himself on Saturday, it's been a tough watch for the Jays, but and a huge 9-game homestand beginning tomorrow. It'd be nice if they could squeeze this one out, but they're a big dog tonight against it. Listen, just before we dive into the contest and everything for the CFL and the exclusive for tonight, listen, we got our noses rubbed in it big time in Game 1. Ehlers starts it off with 2 goals, and everyone, and not you, but many people that had been all on the Marner narrative, dealing with the Marner stuff, kind of like there was a lot of, well, what about Winnipeg? They let Ehlers leave. Regardless of Nikolai Ehlers and the Jets, I mean, how much do you just want this Stanley Cup Final to be over in the rearview mirror, move on to your number 1 pick in the draft, and hopefully not have to hear too much about a Stanley Cup and Conn Smythe Trophy return to Southern Ontario this summer by 93?
Yeah, I mean, listen, like the Leafs haven't played hockey since April, and all anyone, on my timeline at least wants to talk about is the Toronto Maple Leafs and Mitch Marner and, this whole storyline. And he's saying, well, I've had some dark days, and he's not going to elaborate on the dark days unless they win the cup. And then maybe he'll elaborate on the dark days. I'm sick of it all, Huss. It's just let it go, man. Like, you've moved on. We've moved on. Like, just let it be done. Listen, I'm not rooting for Vegas and Mitch Marner. Vegas, like the fans of the Vegas Golden Knights, like what an unbelievable charmed life that they have. 3 Stanley Cup Finals. They already won a Stanley Cup. They're up 1-0 in the current Stanley Cup Final. Like, the rich get richer in Vegas. Like how long I've been waiting for my team to make a friggin' conference final, let alone a Stanley Cup Final, to go on a run like this. It's very frustrating, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'm rooting for the Hurricanes. I was thinking about you guys when Ehlers had that first 2 goals in Game 1. And I was like, you know what? We're not the only ones going through this. And listen, I'm sure you guys would have loved to bring Ehlers back. Obviously, it was a rough year for Winnipeg. It was a rough year for Toronto as well. But, I mean, the fact of the matter is they're no longer with these teams. We don't have to talk about them. Just focus on who's left in the playoffs, not the teams that haven't been playing hockey since April.
Amen to that. Game 2 tonight, I should say, in the Cup Final. We've got Carolina now minus 161 favorite, Vegas plus 137. I think a lot of people looking at this one. I don't mind the under for this game tonight. It's now at 5.5, and it's plus money to the under at plus 105. I think back to the Colorado-Vegas series, after Game 1, Colorado scored early, no goals through the second, and then it was 3 by Vegas, 3-1 final. So to me, I think I like Carolina in this game, and I do like the under. I think this will be a very different game than the first game. And if you do want to get a series bet in before Game 2, and you like Carolina, plus 125. I mean, they were minus 152 going into the series. The odds have completely flipped. That's where Vegas is at right now. Ehlers and the Canes at plus 125 if you want to ride with the Carolina Hurricanes. But Jake, it is CFL kickoff today. I've got something that we've cooked up in the combo cards. We've got lines for the games, but let's remind people about the Cool Bet League with Winnipeg Sports Talk, trip to the Grey Cup on the line, just making weekly predictions on the games. It's absolutely free, and thing is, you want to get in before week 1 because you don't want to be playing catch up on everyone that gets their picks in.
Yeah, like, listen, if you don't get in this week, it's not over and done with for you. But obviously, people who are going to collect points this week are going to have a bit of a head start on you. So ideally, you want to start off by getting involved this week. You go in, it's very simple once you get there. I think the problem that some people are having is how to get there. So, if you're on the main screen, on desktop, you can scroll down to the bottom of the screen, down the left side. I think Huss has explained this a few times, but down on the left side, there'll be something that says sports. It's in bold. Then it says all sports, live bet, cool bet league. You can click on that, and then you just scroll through. So, there's a world championship prediction game. I believe that's for the World Cup. And then the one right next to it is the WST Cool Bet CFL Pick'em League. You click on that one, you get a chance to win a trip to the Grey Cup. You come away with the most points after the regular season. Right now, we got 61 total participants. I actually made some predictions as well in there. Figured I'd get involved for week 1, see how I do with everyone else. Some of the questions I've had. So, who's available to play in this? I think we were having some issues. Some people weren't able to see it. I've fixed that. So anyone, if you were struggling to find it, you got to the league, you couldn't get all the way there. I fixed that. It should be available to everyone from Canada who has a Coolbet account. You'll need to be signed in to see it. That's the one big thing with the league. You have to be signed in to actually see it. And you don't have to make any sort of deposit. This is what someone asked me last week. Or earlier this week was, do I have to make a deposit to compete? This is totally free to play. If you just make a Coolbet account, you get to the league, you make your predictions for the week, you're in. And then the nice thing is, you don't have to make a deposit. You win one of these weeks, well, you're going to walk away with $50 in bonus. You can try out Coolbet without actually having to spend your own money at all. So yeah, don't worry about depositing or anything like that. Get involved. It's going to be a fun season in the CFL, and something a little unique that not a lot of places offer. A free to play option. You make your predictions every week. I'll be adding the games, as they are weekly. So if there's any issues with that, you can always contact me and we'll sort it out. And yeah, I'm excited. I think this is going to be a really, really fun time. On mobile now, is anyone on mobile? I believe you have to click the bottom right, and then if you scroll through, you'll see Coolbet League. Yeah, I think if you want to explain that.
It's pretty easy. I mean, if you're on the mobile on your phone, just go to the bottom right. You'll see it clicks on more, and then under sports, it'll say in play, incoming bets. Just click on that, slide it to the to the far right. The far right thing is Coolbet League, and it's just right there. And then again, you just predict the score for each team in each game. The points distribution is all laid out there. And my number one suggestion, and this was the way that I won the PME Open Championship, is that you just got to make your picks. Put a little reminder that you don't forget on Wednesday night, Thursday during the day, before the games start. Hey, did you get your picks in? And then just rip over and get them in. Because, I mean, listen, every week you'll be able to win the $50. But if you don't get your picks in on a few weeks, it's going to be pretty tough to win the trip. So consistency is key. Get those in. And listen, good luck to everyone that will be playing against all of us for that trip to the Grey Cup. Now, Jake, we do have 3 games, and I was been looking forward for the last number of months to finally get back to football. And we got a great slate coming up for the first week of the CFL. All really tight lines. Tonight, it's Montreal and Hamilton. Alouettes minus 133 on the money line. Ticats plus 110. Alouettes 2-point favorites. Totals 51. Tomorrow, Friday Night Football, Bombers are now 1.5-point favorites. I'm not sure whether something changed with the Calgary depth chart. We'll have to get into that tomorrow. But Bombers minus 125 on the money line. Calgary plus 103. And Bombers minus 1.5 on the spread. Total for that one's 48.5. And then the line that's moved the most this week has been this Edmonton-Ottawa game. It opened up as Ottawa minus 3.5. And I know Edmonton was as high as plus 155 on the money line. We were talking about it. It dropped to plus 140. It's now plus 135, and the game is at 3. And to be honest, we've spent a lot of time today talking about this Montreal-Hamilton game. I think Montreal is still the team to beat. We're taking Montreal. I love the value on the Elks as the underdog in that game against Ottawa. Jake Mayer starting. It's Dinwiddie's first game. Edmonton, needs a good start. And I think with the stability of Fajardo staying in, adding Austin Mack, I think they're in a great spot to win their opener. And listen, there's a lot of excitement about this Blue Bomber team. They owe Calgary not 1 but 3 from last year. So let's take the Bombers. So we've put together, these are the 3 road teams. Montreal tonight, Bombers tomorrow, Edmonton on Saturday. And if you go into the combo cards, just right at the top of the main page, you'll see the ride with WST parlay. It's Montreal, Winnipeg, Edmonton. Sweet boost from the boys. That's plus 640 if you did it yourself. It's boosted to plus 736. So you can lock that in on the ride with WST for week 1 of many weekly CFL parlays here on the program. I know Hammer wasn't there. I wanted to wait for you to come on today to roll this out, but we'll be cranking out a CFL 110 earlier in the week pretty much throughout. And football is back, Jake. We got the CFL right now and counting down the days to start talking some NFL as well and getting the Friday WST winners shows with you and Patty going again. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's exciting. Football is officially back. Canadian Football League. We even got World Cup football coming. If you want to get involved in that, I also added to the combo cards. If you scroll a little further down,
there we go.
Seabears. I think they got a doubleheader. They play tonight and tomorrow, if I have that correct, just based on what I'm seeing. But tomorrow night they're a slight favorite over the Montreal Alliance, and then the Bombers play as well. So we got both those teams, Seabears and Bombers, both to win from plus 224 to plus 260. And then you did text me, Huss, and you said, hey, do we want to put a little same gamer together tonight for the CFL? We're excited for the CFL to be back. So if you head over to the exclusives there under the popular tab, you'll see the Winnipeg Sports Talk parlay is there. I don't know if you want to break this one down, Huss. I think
sure.
I'll probably
I was talking with Iwanek earlier today, and we were kind of breaking through what we think. I mean, the one thing I think that's pretty safe is Davis Alexander, especially with Stevie Scott out. I think it's even more of a chance for the first game of the year to him remind everyone that he is the guy, certainly in the East. So we're going to go 2 passing touchdowns for Davis Alexander. We're going to go Sneed 60-plus yards. His total, if you just want to bet, is over 59.5. So we'll get 60-plus yards for him. Kenny Lawler's total is 80.5. We've got 80 or more receiving yards for Kenny Lawler. And Kenny Lawler's the most likely guy on the board for an anytime touchdown. He's at minus 105. So we'll have Kenny get into the end zone. So Lawler, 80 yards receiving and a touchdown. Sneed, 60 receiving yards. Davis Alexander, 2 passing touchdowns. That is plus 650 in the exclusives under the Winnipeg Sports Talk parlay. So nice way to start the season. We got football tonight. We got a little hockey tonight. Going to have to get 2 TV operations going on. And Jake, just quickly, a couple things that are kind of away from CoolBet. By the way, again, if you haven't played before, go to coolbet.com. If you are making your first deposit, use the promo code WST. We'll double it up to $200. But again, you do not need to make any deposit to join us in our Pick'em League for the year. Do it today. Get your picks in before kickoff tonight. And good luck playing with us all year long. What a crazy start to the NBA final last night with the Knicks going into San Antonio. I mean, I had a nice week. We hit a few winners so far. I will be honest, I was all over the Spurs on the spread. I thought Wemby would have a big game, and wasn't quite the way I think a lot of people assumed it would go after the big win over the favorite OKC Thunder.
Plus, it almost played out similar to that game 1 in the Eastern Conference Finals where the Knicks kind of came out a little sluggish. Obviously, the Brunson injury hurt them in the first half, and then all of a sudden, he worked his way back into the game. And at one point, I checked, as the second half was starting, and the Spurs were up 13, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's going to be a Spurs trouncing here. And then I turned it off, to be honest with you. And by the time the fourth quarter rolled around, I checked my phone, and the Knicks were up by 2. It was 97-95 at the time. And yeah, I mean, listen, you got to tip your cap to Jalen Brunson and Kat. They have been on quite a run, and they both played an absolutely unbelievable game. You shut down Wemby. I think next game, Huss, personally, I haven't looked at the line yet. I'm probably taking the Spurs for the game spread. I think it's a must win. Similar to Carolina tonight, right?
Absolutely.
You don't want to go to New York down 0-2. because you're going to be in a lot of trouble. You think you're going to go steal 2 in New York? You're in a must-split situation, very similar to Carolina. You know what the play might be, Huss? You just take Carolina, Spurs on the money line, and they'll probably both be favorites, but it just feels like must-win territory. If you want to remain in this series and competitive, you want to force, a game 6, a game 7, whatever it ends up being, you got to find a way to split at home. And I think both those teams are in that scenario right now.
Yeah, if you did want to just play a straight-up Spurs to win and Carolina to win, Spurs are minus 227, Canes minus 161, plus 134 right now, and you can bang
It's not bad
that
at
out.
all, man. That's
No,
not
it
bad
just,
at all.
plus money. I mean, 2 home teams. Vegas does scare me a little bit, just the way. I mean, I still can't believe they swept the
of course.
Avalanche, but here we are. Hey, before we go,
Even the way they won the other night, like, not to get too deep into it, but the way they won the other night, like, they just don't go away. They just keep coming. And then that hurdle goal was unbelievable. That pass was incredible. Yeah, I mean, tip your cap.
hey, I got to ask you about the 2 big trades in the National Football League. And, obviously Myles Garrett going to the Rams. I went over and I wanted to remember what the odds were as the lock went up, because I knew that was going to move some lines. I mean, the Rams were, I think, right there with Seattle at plus 750 or so as co-favorites. Well, Myles Garrett coming into LA has changed things. Plus 550. The Rams, the clear favorite right now for the Super Bowl. Bills and Seahawks at 10-1. Ravens 12. Chiefs, Chargers 15. And then 16s on the Packers, Patriots, Lions, and Niners. But you finally got your guy, A.J. Brown, traded from Philly. Shockingly not broken by Diana Rossini, but I digress. What does this mean? I mean, is this move had been rumored for so long, and it sounded like he really wanted to go to New England. This is a big-time weapon, and I think a guy that has a lot to prove, frankly, with the way things sort of went in Philly, despite winning a championship.
Yeah, obviously getting a bit older, receiver-wise. He's not that old. I think we're pretty much the same age, or maybe he's a year older than me, but he'll be 30 at the end of the month. And yeah, listen, I think he's still got some juice in the tank. I think he's still a good player. He seemed kind of checked out in Philly, and obviously that's a concern. But obviously he seems really happy right now. I don't know if you saw some of the stuff he was saying, but he's like, I know this isn't heaven, but it feels pretty close. So yeah, grew up a Patriots guy. Obviously has some history with Vrabel, and they seem to be on pretty good terms when he was there in Tennessee. So I imagine you're going to get 2, maybe 3 good years out of A.J. Brown, and like most wide receivers, it probably the time will come, especially because the thing is with Philly, like, they were winning. Like, this was a good football team. They won a Super Bowl, and he was just checked out. He was like, apparently after week 4, they were 4-0 last year, Huss, and he was like, I want out of here. Like, I can't be here anymore. So I don't know what happened with Hurts or Sirianni, whatever it ended up being. I know the OC there, Patullo wasn't great last year either, so that was a bit of an issue. But yeah, I'm excited. I think McDaniel's getting a hold of him. They also brought in Romeo Doubs, so it's going to be A.J. Brown, Romeo Doubs, Kayshon Boutte. That's a pretty good 1, 2, 3 punch. I wouldn't say it's the best receiving core in the league, but when you got a guy like Drake May who can drop it in a bucket, I think downfield A.J. Brown's going to be a really big threat this year. And yeah, I'm excited for the Pats. Obviously, the schedule is going to be a lot tougher this year. I think a lot of people are kind of circling that, but they can find their way into the playoffs. And, they're as battle tested as anyone right now, given what they went through last year.
Nobody wants to get to training camp, the preseason, and the regular season more and just talk about football than Patriots fans and certainly head coach Mike Vrabel. It's been quite the offseason. Jakey,
Absolutely.
Great stuff, man. Cannot wait for the Cool Bet Pick'em League. Folks, get your picks in before kickoff tonight if you can. And can't wait to talk World Cup with you guys and much more in the coming weeks. A lot going on right now. Welcome back. Have a great one, and we'll talk to you soon, pal.
Yeah, thanks, Huss. We're about 3 hours away. If there's any more late questions on the Pick'em League, let me know. I noticed 3 more people jumped in from this conversation. So hopefully we'll see that number up to 70, 80 by kickoff tonight.
Come and get it. I'm calling my shot. Who wants some? Cool Bet League. Let's go. WST. Amazing prize, too. All expenses paid to the Grey Cup. Thanks to you guys for making that happen. There's Jake Boland Moss. Appreciate it. If you do need, you can hit him up on X at Jake Bolin Moss or in the DMs, and make sure to give at CoolBet Canada a follow as well with a bunch of the stuff that we're giving on. All right, well, we went a little long today. It was a fun show. We had lots to get to. Tomorrow on the program, Big Friday coming up. Definitely have to talk to Hacksaw about about what's going on. But listen, let's finish it up again. T-Will was our big winner yesterday. For those of you that are with us in chat right now, Remis has just opened it up. We've got our MVP platter from Boston Pizza to give away. So put in the chat, !MVP. And we will spin the wheel in just a moment. We'll give you 30 seconds to get in if you're kind of listening but not paying to the chat. !MVP. We will fire it up, spin it, and give someone one of these awesome MVP platters that you can enjoy watching World Cup football starting next week. This is going to be a wild 6 weeks, Reem. I mean, obviously we're headfirst into Bomber season in the CFL, finishing up the finals in hockey and basketball. But the World Cup, I think, is going to take over the consciousness of a lot of sports fans, even if they're not traditional soccer guys, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm excited to introduce my son into soccer. Actually, you know what he said to me today? He's like, you know what they call soccer on Bluey, the show they were watching? He goes, football, and thought it was pretty funny. So I'm getting to experience all that. You get to go behind your country. Canada has some good game times as well. And I think it's gonna be fun following along here for the next couple weeks. So definitely an exciting part of the calendar. We were kind of in between, the end of the Jet season and draft season, and now the rumor mill. I mean, everyone's making mock trades about Dylan Larkin. Where's he gonna go? So that should be fun. CFL season kicking off, and you mentioned World Cup. Sea Bears are underway. Gold Eyes as well. And I did put the link to the WST Gold Eyes night, June 30. It is at Winnipeg Sports Talk, WinnipegSportsTalk.com at the top of the page. And a lot of people asking about the Cool Bet League. Well, I emailed it out to everyone, along with the Gold Eyes ticket link in our newsletter. So sign up for that. Go to WinnipegSportsTalk.com at the bottom. Sign up for our newsletter. We just send updates on the top segments of the week, of course, but also contests, events, and stuff like that. So I would recommend, hey, if you're here listening at any point on YouTube or the podcast, you got to sign up so you can get updated on anything you may have missed.
Yeah, nicely done. All right, let's fire up the wheel with everyone that entered today. While I mentioned that tomorrow on the show, we're getting ready. Is Ben Kramer coming on tomorrow?
Yeah, he's got some props and stuff for the Bomber game. He's excited
to
mention.
Nice. Seebeck-Imagn, he's the man.
He's got the props, yeah.
We're going to talk fantasy. I'm going to have to ask him. Do not let me forget to ask Ben. This is the guy that I want to ask. I got screwed in the first round. I tried to take Justin Rankin. They gave me James Butler.
Still rattled.
Who will have more fantasy points this year? I mean, this could be good fortune that actually helps me out. But I will tell you, I'll be so mad all year long every time Rankin has a huge game, knowing that that's who I actually wanted but didn't get him. But Ben Kramer on some CFL, Hacksaw. We will get ready for Blue Bomber kickoff. Ed Tate's going to join us from Calgary to set up tomorrow night's opener. And Brandon Rowicki as well will join us to talk a little puck, a little Jets, and get his thoughts.
Yeah, Shores of Running Man just bought tickets to Gold Eyes night from our website. So we'll see him there. I know T. Conapoli also bought.
Yes, T. Conapoli, right on, dude. Will be good. Great to see you.
Yeah, very, very pumped. But here is the wheel of names. We had 32 names in for the MV platter.
Sweet. By the way, if you win right away, can you just send us a quick email, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com with your number and your email and your name, your actual name, so we can send it over to the people at Boston Pizza, and they'll fire you an email to find out where you want to pick up from. All right. for another amazing BP MVP platter to be enjoyed during Stanley Cup Final action, World Cup action, the NBA, Blue Jays. I mean, every night's a great night to get to BP right now to watch sports, but it really gets going. And next Friday, 2 p.m. kickoff. Get to your local BP, blow off work in the afternoon. I'm sure we'll do our show a little early, so with no overlap, and we can make it happen for go time here with Team Canada. All right, spin her up, Remo. Our friends at Boston Pizza have an MVP platter for wherever the wheel of winners ends up. All right, Winnipeg Puck, 5508. Fire us an email, please, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com with all of your details. We'll pass it on to the folks at BP. T-Will, I'm sending your info from yesterday in right away, just because we were away. I didn't get a chance to do that, so expect something in the next 24 hours from Boston Pizza, and enjoy yours as well. Winnipeg Puck, congratulations, and that's going to do it for us. Fun show tonight. Enjoy the hockey game, everybody. Let's see if the Canes can get this thing tied up, heading back to Vegas and give us a nice long series. Got Blue Jays tonight. I'm not holding my breath that they can beat the Braves. And then, of course, Montreal and Hamilton. Cannot wait for CFL kickoff tonight. That is going to do it for us. Thanks to Jake. Thanks to Rob Wong. Thanks to Ken Wiebe and Moe Khan. Fun show today. Tomorrow is Blue Bomber kickoff. Lots of CFL talk and more from tonight's Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Join us tomorrow live at 1 right here on YouTube. Thanks to all of our sponsors that make the show happen each and every day, and all of you for making us a part of yours. We'll see you tomorrow, 1 o'clock, Big Friday edition, marbles as well, on WST.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.